Hello and welcome back to the Panama Hat channel. I'm joined as ever by the ebullient Simon Roberts.
Hey, are you Panama Hat? I mean,
That's right.
OMG, what are you doing here on the latest ThinkPod chat stream, cyber deriving culture, web bants and badinage fest for the masses?
Well, I was just on my way out, and I thought, well, why not? Why not pop on here and do a quick situations derive?
That's right.
On the
Yeah,
channel.
we're here in the murk of Cricklewood, thinking about the world and
Yes, indeed.
travel. Yeah, here we are again.
Actually, I'm trying to plan a trip to Algeria.
Are you?
Yeah, at some point. So I was thinking about travel. Yeah, only a quick one. Couple of weeks in the Casbah.
Rock the Casbah.
Indeed. Sharif don't like it. Simon, we're back 2 days on the trot.
Blimey.
Because we're professionals, and we put the hours in.
I think I'm recovered with my back, by the way. I think I worked out what it was. It's my bed. I've had a bed that I bought it 13 years ago when I moved out of London. Went to IKEA. Bought a big memory foam mattress, and it was great for quite a long time. And then recently it started giving me, I think, a sort of sag in the middle, and I would wake up with really bad back on the left side, and it said, "Yeah, your hips are out of alignment with your spine. Sleep with the pillow between your legs and get a new mattress." I said, "What? Get a new mattress?" This is AI I'm talking with, and it said, "Yeah. Sort of foam mattresses are meant to last the sort of maximum about 8 years." And I said, "But I've had this for 13 years." And he said, "Well, more fool you. Get another mattress, you cheapskate." And so, I have to buy a new mattress.
No.
That's what it is. And I found a trick of sleeping on the edge of the mattress where I don't normally sleep. And the next morning I woke up, no back pain at all. It's definitely the mattress. So there you go. Memory foam is fine, but you can't use it forever. It settles in the middle, and no matter how many times you turn it over, it won't get any better. So yeah. So I'm I'm going to join the latest trend for fly tipping, I think. Find a nice area where people who fly tip live and go and fly tip it on them.
Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what this means, though, because we no longer have an excuse to say, "Oh, get Simon a new chair now."
That's right. Yeah.
Although that does mean that now that you're physically not put into discomfort by the streams, we could do even more nattering. So.
Oh yeah.
You know what that means. We better shill, Simon.
We better shill. Yes, we had better shill, and we would like to thank people for their generous, kind-hearted support for this stream so far. We've been going for a week or so, a couple of weeks, and people have vaunted into the saddle and given us very, very timely and kindly support, which we do value, because today I'm going to be trying to persuade Panama to come out on a psychogeographic derive in London with me. And in aid of that, we're obviously going to, we're going to need certain comestibles in order to undertake the derive properly.
Because Russians.
Yes. And I've got a very interesting clip here which explains it. In our vein of Selfian kind of irony and misanthropy, I've just found a little clip of Will Self. He's giving a brief definition of psychogeography, which I think will help you establish in a concise fashion. It's only about 4 minutes long, what we're talking about with psychogeography. So if you like, I'll just play this. We can listen. It's Will Self talking to Russell Brand quite a few years ago now. It's just mainly him talking, so there isn't so much annoying Russell Brand stuff. But I think you'll find it's a good summation of what it's about. And I hope you enjoy. So if you're ready, I'll just hit play.
Go ahead, Simon.
Okay, here we go.
Will Self tell us all about psychogeography? Here's my sort of basic understanding. Can I just put it in my sort of,
give us your take. Yeah.
Here's my take.
Yeah.
Here's my take. It's coming up. This is the take coming up now. right? What about bloody Centre Point, right? That's like the front line, or that's where you score crack and heroin as an absolute last resort. You know, like everyone else has let you down. You know it's going to be a bit moody, bit rubbish, dirty, filthy gear. You go there as a last resort, and like Centre Point was a big architectural project, wasn't it? Like, oh, let's rejuvenate this area, let's make it all pleasant and lovely. And before that, wasn't it like some Hogarthian Gin Alley, Gin Lane type thing?
Yes, but that's very much Peter Ackroyd, the writer's take on psychogeography, and other people's, which is that there's a kind of, you know, districts and quarters of cities have a kind of character. You know, he wrote a book called London, the Biography, which was sort of a kind of psychological biography of the city. And you're absolutely right about that area. That has been a quarter of debauchery since time immemorial, going back beyond Gin Lane, going back, there were brewers there before there were gin distillers, and it goes right back to the period when you had monastic enclosures in central London. So it is kind of astonishing that you know, that the kind of front line for drugs should have gravitated there as well. So there's that kind of angle to it. But the term itself comes out of the French Situationists of the 1950s and 60s, and what their kind of leading light was this guy Guy Debord, who was a kind of Marxist theorist of a particular kind, and his idea was that, you know, modern cities are constructed around commercial imperatives. You know, it was a kind of anti-capitalist theory. You know, it summed up for me. I once saw a graffiti on a supermarket wall outside Bristol that said, "Work, consume, die." And that's what Debord said about the city. You know, the way we move around the city is dictated by these commercial imperatives. We go to shop, we get fed entertainment, we go home, we go to work, and we don't really see where we are anymore. We can't exist in the city as it really is. And the way to counter that is what he called a dérive, a drift, which is to move almost aimlessly through the city.
Just drift about?
Yeah, just drift about. He and his Situationist pals used to buy a few bottles of gut rot red wine up by the Parc Bout de Chaumont in the north of Paris, and then just kind of drink it and totter down through Paris, fall asleep on the Ile-de-France, and thereby tear down the whole edifice of capitalist society.
The edifice is all gone because on account you've just left the house with no real objective.
Yeah, well, that is the idea. Yeah, that's the original idea. I mean, I don't think I'm really involved in quite that. I mean, the big thing about Debord was you kind of would have never heard of him, except that then the événement, you know, of '68 came along in Paris, and he was viewed as one of the major ideologues of that great kind of cultural revolution. So he became kind of very influential and famous. But the kind of modern psychogeographers in England, people take it in different ways. There's a kind of wacky, sort of spaced out take on it, where kind of people, you know, take a map of Florence and negotiate their way around Toronto with it, or they throw dice to tell them where to go. Or, you know, there are other psychogeographers like our mutual friend Nick, or he wouldn't even style himself that, he calls it deep topography, who are really kind of just interested in taking one place and understanding it completely. And then there's kind of my take on it, which is very much bound up with these airport walks I do, which is a kind of satirical take on it. I'm kind of taking the piss out of international travel. I'm taking, you know, I'm sort of saying, you know, what a weird world it is where we jet all over the world. You know, somebody can be amazingly well traveled, but they actually know bugger all about where they are or where they've been. You know, they've jet into Beijing. They couldn't point out north. They don't know where to get their pants washed. You know, they don't speak the language. They kind of aren't really anywhere. They're in their own heads. You know, so distorting is international jet travel in that way. So the way I earth it is to walk from my house to the airport and walk at the other end. And a kind of trip like this, you know, I've been coming to LA for 15 years. Always stay, you know, up at the Chateau Marmont and see movie people and kind of hang out up here in the Hollywood Hills and go down to the beach of Santa Monica. I never really knew the city until I started to walk it. Now, in the last week, I've learned more about LA than I have in 15 years of coming here.
Oh, there you go.
And welcome to today's special book.
Sorry, next track. There you go. So, yeah. So there you go. The basic plot is you get a load of red wine and you drift around the city, and then that destroys the structure of international capitalism, which we think is not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
I'm up for it, Simon. I'm up to destroy the structure of international capitalism by drinking wine.
There you go. They said he said gut rot red wine. We, of course, we are aiming for something like a nice fine Bay Cheval, you know, or a 53 Margaux, that kind of thing. So if you can help us with that, you can go to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com / all one word, Panama Hat. And you can contribute to our newly established, just today, wine fund. Vintage and fine wines from austere and magnificent cellarages all over the country will be accepted on that Ko-fi. Just send a lot of money and we will make sure that they are transported from their dusty cellarous vaults and into our mouths.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll pop down to Amarthas in Soho.
Yeah.
And we'll ask them for what would you recommend for a situationist to reeve?
Well, now you're
London?
really asking, sir. Yes, okay.
Yeah, probably give us something nice. Yeah. Yes, do donate to the Ko-fi. It keeps us going. The more you donate, the more we'll be able to do. Big Cover 22, thank you very much for the 5 gifted memberships there.
Wow, very generous.
That's very, very generous of you. I hope people in the chat enjoy those.
All hail Big Cover
22.
Reminder
that the highest donators will be honorary executive producers. And I'd like to reiterate our challenge from yesterday that if you donate over £100, you are considered to have funded a complete stream, and your topic of choice will be done when we are available to do it. Obviously within reason. As we said yesterday, don't say watch the entire Star Wars trilogy live.
No,
it's not
going to happen.
No. It has to be within reason. We do reserve the right to say no. But yes, if you would like to book your own stream, then pop £100 on Ko-fi, or in a very big super chat, and we will gladly accept it. So
what are we committed to so far then, in terms of the ones that we've received? Are we committed to the Disco Elysium stream?
So someone's asked me to play Disco Elysium, and I've said that I will do it at some point. I can't promise it's going to be in the next next couple of days.
We will find Disco Elysium. Yeah.
And the other one was on Australian poetry and Banjo Patterson.
Oh, yes.
Which is certainly we'll do that.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Excellent.
But yes, as I say, these things are now on the docket, on the list, in the pipeline. We're gonna do the job.
That's it.
As we've been asked to.
Yeah.
Teddy's wondering what you've been doing. Mr. Black Magic himself. No. Yes, good. Indeed, we will. Simon.
Yes.
Lovely afternoon up here in Cricklewood.
Yes.
The shining blue sky, not too hot. I've got a nice Cuba Libre with ice in front of me.
Oh, superb.
What are things like over by you?
They're fine. Over here in the Midland Lands, where I am, around 100 miles away from London, it's sort of fluffy white clouds, little white fluffy clouds going past, gentle breeze, and I've got my vodka and orange in my glass here, so that's another day of accelerated liver damage. But this won't be necessarily every stream. On other streams, there'll be much harder drinks, grappa, Chinese firewater distilled by railwaymen, that kind of thing. So there will be more toxic beverages, but there will also be sometimes gentler streams as well, where we just have a little nip of Courvoisier or a sort of a soupçon of a fine claret donated by a generous watcher.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yes.
Actually, I went round to Simon's habitation once and found that he was drinking actual bathtub gin out of his bathtub.
Yeah.
That he has a couple of little. There's a few little Malaysian women that live there with him.
Yeah.
And they were all they were sort of they were like the Oompa Loompas. They were like stirring this big pot of illegally made gin. It was quite impressive.
And they frequently take baths in it as well, so that does add a little bit of a kind of savoury relish to the gin. And
that's sort of mango aftertaste.
It's a sort of a strange urban artisanal project we've got going with Southeast Asian women bathing in a bathtub full of gin, and then we sell it to extremely gullible. we sell it to our friends.
Yes, indeed. Simon, have you ever actually drunk sort of really awful rock gut wine, like really the type of thing where it's so cheap you drink it and you go, I probably shouldn't be drinking this?
I had Blue Nun once. It was not very nice.
Right.
I've had, I don't think I've had really. The problem is so much of the wine here is cheap and rock gut and awful and is basically vinegar as soon as you open it. When you say expensive wines, it's not just me being picky. It's that the problem is the wines don't taste of anything below about £50.
No.
They just taste awful. And when you have a wonderful wine, it's really transporting, isn't it?
Yeah, the flavors and the depth of it you get.
Oh.
I mean, I do think that we have a huge problem in this country with our wine selection. In that, you go into a supermarket, even like Waitrose or something, and it'll just be shelf after shelf of over-sugared, sulfury piss. I mean, you go into an average supermarket on the continent, and even the basic fiver wines they'll be proper wine. They'll be cheaper, but they will actually be wine. Yeah.
Even in Germany, where you don't think they do good wines.
Oh no, they've got very good wine in Germany.
I used to go to this village near Kiel and go to the local equivalent of something like Sainsbury's, and the local Dornfelder was extremely drinkable and pleasant and smooth, and would turn many a spring or summer afternoon into an oniric bliss.
Very good. I mean, I did when I first went to university, I found a nearby off license that had sort of, I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what the brand was, but I mean, it was wine that cost £3.25, right? And this was pre-COVID as well. Pre-inflation price. £3.25 was very little for a bottle of wine. And I bought a few, and the taste was pretty bad, but it was drinkable if you really wanted to get pissed. But the smell on it did actually smell like feces. Like there was a fecal smell coming off the wine.
Yeah, not unusual. Not unusual.
What the fuck? Why did it? It's horrible. Horrible.
I don't know. I think it just may be certain sort of chemical aromas that are launched when you uncork a decent bottle of wine. I must say I had some very nice bottles of wine back in Australia in the early 90s. Where I lived in Perth, south of Perth, there is Margaret River, which is a great wine producing district. There was a fantastic white wine called Lenton Bray, which I had around about 1992, me and a few friends just sort of, lying on the grass under the sun, drinking this stuff that was absolutely brilliant. It was like nectar. And then, you might go to a bottle shop and, drop $50, on a bottle of something French just for a bit of a, mad sojourn. And the best stuff I had was, it was French wine from that sort of era, possibly late 80s, about $50. And you opened it and it smelled like cat food. Initially, it smelled like cat food, but it tasted amazing. I don't know why that is. It may be just some sort of, as I say, strange interaction of ingredients that surface and then dissipate in a distinctly unusual aroma. But then the depth and taste is just something else. So I don't know.
Yeah, it reminds me of during the war.
In the war,
in the war,
when we was fighting the Germans in the war.
Well, it's more that when the Germans were fighting us, really, because it was the IG Farben, the big industrial conglomerate.
Sorry, when we was fighting the Americans in the war, the Americans kind of won.
Yeah, and when the IG Farben company, the big industrial conglomerate, one of the things they were tasked with was producing wine because Germany ran out of wine. Because they didn't have any suppliers coming from abroad, and the German wine industry was not large enough at that time to support domestic consumption. And all the fine French wines had already been looted by various high-ranking officials, mainly Hermann Goering. And they produced an ersatz wine, which was largely made of sulfur, and it was so bad for you that if you drank enough of it, your kidneys would go into renal failure.
Wow.
Yeah, and quite a few people died that way actually on the civilian front, just downing huge amounts of this horrific sulfur wine that they were making.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. It's Friedrich Reck talks about it in Diary of a Man in Despair. Very good book. Sort of this guy who really, really hates the Nazis, but from the right. He's like this kind of old school. So they're too progressive for him. Yeah. And he thinks Hitler's a bit of a twit, so he spent the war writing this diary, and sort of criticizing them, and obviously in secret. And then right towards the end of the war, he was charged with some crime and ended up in a camp where he died of typhus, I think, right before the end of the war. But yeah, interesting book. People should read it. There's a New York Times press edition. And I did a video on it actually some years ago, if you check on my channel. But I highly recommend that book.
Dodgy alcohol.
Details like that.
Dodgy alcohol is always a kind of interesting area to explore. I've mentioned on another stream, but I've got the detail now. In one of the James Bond books, in Moonraker, he's drinking with M in his club, and in the books, it's interesting. Apparently the vodka that Bond favors is one called Wolfschmidt, which I've never heard of, but apparently it was made in the US. But he also talks about some of the Russian vodka in the war. And apparently one of the byproducts of the fermentation that goes on is this stuff called fusel oil, Fusel, and it can create a kind of sort of strange mouth feel, and it makes the hangovers worse. And what he does to M's disgust is he takes some pepper from the table at the club and he puts it on the vodka, and he explains that it binds with the oils and it drags them to the bottom of the glass, so it sort of purifies the vodka as you're drinking it. So it's it seems to be a sort of byproduct of the way it was produced during the Second World War. So that's why Bond's always careful to put pepper on his vodka.
Wow, didn't know that.
Curious, yeah.
Yeah, strange.
Low quality potato vodka. It was in the 50s.
Yeah. Well, the Russians used to drink motor oil. I think we may have talked about this once before, but the Russian army in the Second World War, various motorized and armored units were ordering larger supplies of fuel than they could possibly be using. And it was figured out pretty quickly that what people were doing is they were drinking the petrol to get hammered. Obviously, because I think it will. Well, I don't know if it'll get you drunk per se, but it will certainly knock you out if you drink it. Not nice in any way, but it will. If you just want to get blackout, then it probably will work. I've never done it myself, so I couldn't testify. But and a report went back up to Stalin, which basically said, "Look, we've got two options here. We can make it toxic, which more toxic, which will just end up killing all the men that try to drink it. But they'll do it anyway. Or we engineer a form of fuel that is actually horrible to drink, but safe to drink. It won't kill you." And they did the latter. So the petrol, gasoline, whatever recipe they were using to make it for their motor vehicles was drinkable, because they knew that they couldn't stop the Red Army soldiers trying to do it anyway. So they thought they better not have them be killed by it. And apparently they still use the same recipe to this day in some units for the same reason.
Right. I think they're very creative, the Russians. It reminds me of the episode we did on Deepest Law about Moscow Petushki, the novel by Venedikt Yerofeyev, famously alcoholic, an exploratory and inventive author who listed all the kind of weird recipes you could make, like furniture polish and nail varnish and all these other things to make kind of samizdat alcohol. Go and check him out. His book is called Moscow to the End of the Line in English. So that's quite a good read if you want to have a look at a kind of boozy train journey.
Yeah, that footage of him just downing, third of a bottle of vodka on the truck is quite harrowing, isn't it? You can just see the misery as he's, just desperate to get this drink in him.
But at least he's feeding it into art, which is what we're doing with our activities on here. So if we drink stuff, we are going to feed it into the art. Yes,
and if anyone would like to see me drink petrol, please send £1,000 and a bottle to the PO box.
Well, I've heard of this during the Iraq War. There'd be some sort of the British Army dealing with some insurgents. There was one story one soldier was telling about, the locals were trying to get in favor of the British Army, so they took some of the insurgents, and the British Army said, "Well, what are you going to do with them?" He said, "Oh, we make them drink petrol, then we shoot them." And yeah,
just for the extra cruelty.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's always a little bit
just to make someone feel horrifically ill before they die.
Civil wars are not nice, are they?
They're not nice, no. Also, just before I forget, that Will Self, the book he mentioned in the interview there, is it Biography of London?
Peter Ackroyd, London. Right. Yeah,
have you read it?
I have. I've got a copy. I got given it years ago. It is a good read, I have to say. Peter Ackroyd also did Dan Leno and the Limehouse Golem, if people know his work. He's very, very readable. That's a very readable book. It's very nice. It sort of captures, in a sense, that sense of drifting through London and the history kind of sort of gently bleeding out of the stones, and you're made aware of it and its connections to stories and sensibilities in the city. So yeah, it's a lovely piece. I mean, it's a good piece. I don't know much about the rest of his work, but he certainly writes it was a very successful book.
Okay, I'm going to look into that. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of as you say, the physical and mental sort of scars and histories of a place is fascinating to me.
I think it is. It's like that. Again, that we did it on Deep Law when we were talking about, the idea of the genetic history of a people the history of a people, its trauma gets invested in the genetic memory of organisms. That the way they did the experiments with mice, and they awoke anxiety memories of previous generations of mice once they stimulated them with certain traumas that had happened to the previous generation without them possibly ever knowing. So I think the idea of place as well, in Mark Fisher, he talks about places stained with time, and London, of course, is, everything, just every corner, every bit of rock just, bespeaks all kinds of, events and moments and moods that you can, you can sort of draw things out in a slavish historical way, but there's also literature to add in there. There's film, there's all kinds of just the oral soundscape of London as well is something to consider. The way that the character of places changes over time, and so does the the ambience of it as well. And that's again something that when we talk about Pinter and memories of different times and places, it's always interesting to go back to those places in London and see if you can still register the echoes of those memories that you have in the ambience of the place now, or if it's been completely overwritten in some way.
Yes, but as you say, especially in a place like London, where you cannot really get away from it. Even in the very modern parts of the city, you're still surrounded by it.
If they haven't sort of literally crushed it and overbuilt it, London is a city of, again, me theory, but it is a lot of spectralities in London. You can sort of see the sort of outlines of things that may not even be there anymore, but they kind of persist in a strange sense if you know just a little bit of the city and its memory, and it's kind of weird when there's the absence of the thing that you've long known, and they put up some rubbish there. In fact, you can only think about the thing that was there before rather than what's in front of you. Bits of Brick Lane, where they put that horrible box park thing, shipping containers, as kind of pop-up shops. And for me, I can only sort of remember it when it was kind of more derelict than that and more interesting, when the industrial history had crumbled away and left a kind of strange aura on the street, and then they try to kind of be hip and modern with it, but it's just it doesn't sort of stick, if you know what I mean, as a part of the character of the place.
Well, it was interesting to hear them talk about Centre Point, which I had no idea had this association with kind of debauchery and lowlives all the way back to the pre-Gin Lane days, when it was just a place where lots of beer was being brewed. And obviously, as Russell Brand says, it was sort of the place to go for really dodgy heroin. In the 90s.
I think that's
strange how the kind of the place of vice carries on like that.
I think that's it, isn't it? We talked about the liberty of the clink and the way Southwark became what it did in certain periods. I mean, and the way when it evacuates from a particular locality, you can still sort of pick up these little signs, and you can almost think it could come back in some way. Maybe there's some sort of urban, social reconfiguration that means some areas become interesting again after they've been dead for a while. I mean, it's not just gentrification; it's that you've got a massive sprawl of a city, but you do have these little interzones between places, which it's where the kind of smell of the history lingers most in a way. Strangely enough, because London, it's the way it conjoins unto itself in various areas isn't always kind of perfectly executed. let's say, some buildings kind of persist. They just won't go, or they can't be got rid of, or the nature of the structure makes it inconvenient to do something and put some modern building on the site, or change the nature of the thoroughfare. So it's curious when you see redevelopments, you notice just how much it's not simpatico with the feel of the city, which, as we've said, it does have an interesting feel. It's not necessarily always livable and easy, but it does have an interesting feel. But they get it wrong so often, and they try to kind of curtail its spirit and its character. Inevitably you see that stuff kind of sometimes falls by the wayside because it just doesn't work. It's not in the organic nature of the place, like a character of a people or a being. It just doesn't gel, and it will kind of get swept away in a sense.
It's like all those American style shopping malls that are no longer there. Sometimes it just doesn't work sort of spiritually. With a place.
The Dead Mall project, for anybody who's interested in that kind of stuff. We've I'm trying to remember the name of the guy it's Dan Bell. Yeah, he does the Dead Mall series with all the kind of, essentially zombie malls that are littering America.
Yeah. Well, they just can't be sustained.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid using the L word to describe them, but I'm sure everyone knows what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's this. It was interesting what Self was saying there about the way that we commonly view the places we live. We do view them through, processes of capital, of buying stuff, getting stuff like services and those sorts of things. And we don't just drift and look around. We don't really, you don't have to go out and sort of, learn tedious facts about steam engines or, factories or, stuff about, the nature of the industrial fabric. It's useful to know, but you don't interact with place. And I think this is kind of one of the problems of the current complaints about modernity crashing in. But lots of people sequester themselves at home now. They're in front of the TV. They streaming things. They're going through box sets. They don't go to the pub anymore. So the sort of texture of the surroundings, it kind of doesn't get that patina of associations that we perhaps used to have, and it kind of de-romanticizes a place, and then that in itself lends an air of decrepitude and neglect that councils take advantage of and say, well, nobody comes here anymore, nobody likes this, so we'll develop it, and then it becomes even more depersonalized from the kind of urban history, the psychogeography of the individual, because you get these new impositions which again just don't take to the character of the place. It's better to have that derelict building, to me, than to have the kind of over capitalized business that nobody really wants to go to or can afford to go to. And why do I want to interact with that? Sometimes I want to interact just with the ruins. I like the ruins.
Yeah, and I'm pretty interested in the concept of things that are left behind. Or at least the form things take when we abandon them. So, for example, you've got things like cathedrals and ancient Greek architecture that survives to this day in a kind of beauteous ruin, where it's almost like it's capable of being its own form, its own other form. Once we abandon it, it doesn't really need us to be beautiful or monumental. And then you've got things like, I don't know, brutalist buildings, or modern glass and concrete office blocks, so which can't really do the same thing. They don't really have a life beyond their lifespan, which is sad, I think, because of all things, a building really should have a kind of ability to hang over itself. Even recently, old theaters and kind of Victoriana has a life outside of its own lifespan. You can let these things rot, and they do have a kind of grandeur about them. Even despite what's happened to them.
And because of safetyism, that quality, that sense of the decayed interiority of a place that you don't see And this is why you have a sort of flourishing of things like urbex, urban exploration. A friend of mine was involved years and years and years ago with an organization called Subterranea Britannica. And they were sort of mainly interested in kind of, ex-government installations and things that, strictly you weren't meant to go into, but you could go into and have a look around and get a sense of the sort of Cold War infrastructures and things like that. But there's so many interesting places. I mean, I saw Nick Broomfield, the documentary maker. He recently did some documentaries. I can't remember where this one was. It was in Swansea or somewhere like that. But it was basically this old building which had been used as it had been last used as kind of the local Irish centre. And it had gone back in time. It had been used, it had a ballroom in it. It was a very, very old building. I can't remember what its origin was. And he just went and made this documentary about the afterlife of this building, the ways in which, there were people who was really invested in it and trying to sort of think about new ways to use it. But the obstructions of councils and safetyism meant, that they could barely really even look around the thing. And yet it was this incredible structure from the past that had this shed load of associations that need not just be condemned, but again, the expense of reviving the building, proving to be at least seemingly prohibitive. But it's that the purpose, again, the way the left talk about this, they talk about the third place, the place that isn't work or home that you go, and we have tended to get into this problem of neglecting these third places. I mean, you see a bit of it at the moment where Gavin Bobby, is trying to rescue sites that are about to be overtaken by people wanting to set up Islamic community centres and mosques. And there might be old pubs or there might be other kinds of buildings. And there's an attempt to at least retrieve it at an administrative and legal level to sort of prevent that kind of change of use. But we've talked before, why have we got such a casual attitude to change of use that the only purpose of these things is a sort of commercial function? I mean, I know it sounds airy-fairy and idealistic, but as I say, sometimes I just prefer the old husk to be there as an interesting artifact in itself. Yeah, than say, well, we have to make it economically viable.
I mean, talk about safetyism. The big problem with a lot of modern buildings, of course, is that you genuinely cannot leave them up because they will be lethal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
those glass concrete towers, they will fall down and kill quite a lot of people if you don't maintain them. Whereas an old, say, music hall, you could just leave it. It's not going to hurt anyone. Sad, really.
Yeah. It'll be an evergreen theme, I guess, as we see more of this kind of stuff as we look at, old bits of footage, old docos, old streets. But I think it's got to be elevated above the level of, Panama Hat and Simon are just being sort of sentimental nostalgists here. But I do think it's like the way we talk about, the omnipresence of everything being commodified and a process of capital taking over. There has to be a part of a kind of a new social and political arrangement that says, no, we're not just going to let that be the main imperative. There is also the kind of habituated environment that people live in that needs to be preserved for its own sake. It might be aesthetic. And an aesthetic justification should stand very strongly in a place, because a lot of the sense of connection to place is to do with an aesthetic regard, isn't it? It's to do with that feeling you have in that park or that site that's in between the where you live and the buildings that sell things. There's something there that maybe just has to be kept as part of the shape of the world you live in, and hence the kind of psychological environment that you live in, which is part of what matters at the moment, above and beyond just saying we need more Lebensraum for people coming in.
Yes, and of course, it never actually turns into economic viability anyway.
No.
It just creates a bubble. It just creates an opportunity for someone to make a cheap buck. It's not something that's going to be there for ages and have lasting economic value and make money perpetually.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse to get rid of something.
Yeah, and as I said about landscapes previously when we did brutalism, the thing of you might have something that has a certain industrial or military or technical functionality, a particular site, but when you say we're going to erase the site and build, cheap housing on it or something else, you change the perceptible contours of the land in which you are living, and that has an impact on yourself, which kind of has to be accounted for in some way. Especially in London, you'll know this, that it's an ever more constricted skyline, as we've talked about, and that sense of you're being hemmed in many ways is not good for people. I just don't think it's good.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, I think given that what we've had in this country, we're quite lucky to have so much old stuff and old green space left at this moment. Considering what it could be like.
Yeah.
If they'd really gone hell for leather with it. But anyway, rounding off that discussion, I believe, Simon, it is time for a bit of Alan Whicker.
Oh, I think it is. I think it's time that we enjoyed him.
I think it's time, Simon, for a trip down south, down in the land of the Rio Grande, where we can enjoy some exotica. Now, would you give a kind of brief introduction to not so much who Alan Whicker was, but kind of who Alan Whicker was culturally to people of a certain age, right? I mean, you must remember him growing up, I suppose, right? Or as a kind of journalistic voice, or sort of give us a psychogeographical biography of Mr. Whicker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly no expert in Whicker. I mean, the things I remember about him is that I think it was he in tanks during the war, something. He was a kind of officer.
He was in the war,
of some nature, and he went through. I don't know. Did he go through Italy and then Europe? I can't remember which bit he was in.
He was born in Cairo in 1921. Went to a haberdasher school, which I did as well. And Devonshire Regiment. He was in the film unit at Anzio. Met Montgomery, and was mentioned in dispatches of gallant and distinguished service in Italy. So there you go. Sorry.
I know. I think that's good, actually. I think it's good to know that, because you actually did put your finger on something that I think is kind of this is maybe a stretch for people, but the old kind of broadcasting apparatus that we had through things like the BBC, in a sense, did create a kind of psychogeography, because you had these guys who would be out, seeing the world, interacting with the world, and establishing a sort of narrative about it that might not necessarily be just rooted in history or the activities of colonial powers and all kinds of things that progressives want to focus on these days as accusations. They give a sense of a mood and a type of place in its time, and the sensibility of its people and how it operates, in the region, and for the rest of us, what it sort of looks like now. I mean, that sounds all kind of very basic in a way, but it is the sort of dim echo of the explorer of the past, the man who stands on the prow of the ship and looks at the new coastline and says, "Oh, brave new world." And that's kind of a function of what people like Whicker did. And we talked about Clive James as well previously, the Englishman abroad, going into the arena of mystery and intrigue of other countries, and laying out some sort of orientation for us. This is an important theme in the psychogeographic. It's not just the process of traveling there where your awareness is neutralized by being in an aeroplane or being in the hold of a ship or whatever it is. It's getting a sense of what it costs you to get to a place, and then when you get there, what it actually means in terms of moving about, living and operating in a place as someone who isn't just merely there as a tourist, but is there to sort of get a sense of that place's character and its smells, its myths, its essence in a spiritual sense as well. And it's always interesting, that broadcasting tradition of those people who go and give us some form of orientation. It may not be definitive, it may not be the best, but it's some attempt to give you a character of place without it coming from, let's say, a military moment of encounter. Of something where a man like Whicker or Clive James can land amidst the exotic and make it actually sympathetic, if I could put it that way. It's not the idea that all foreign journeys have to be encounters with the repulsive or the disgusting or the threatening. It's that you, again, are trying to do what we're trying to do with so much of this stuff in culture terms, is encounter it on its own terms, and with a certain aura of calm and dignity, filter that through an English sensibility, so we can kind of, pick up the vibe of these places and do so in a way with a character like Whicker, who is inquiring, curious, but patient and sympathetic with it as well, in order to get something that's a little bit more connected to reality than, let's say, the way a news station represents a place. We can all think of images of what Haiti's like now, and we mainly think of earthquakes, machetes, and misery.
Pretty bad, yeah. It's pretty bad.
but this way, you go into a place, in its kind of, even if it's a period of authoritarian stability, you might pick up something about the character of the people, the sensibility of its governance, the kind of the way in which, I feel we might be surprised by the way this documentary looks in capturing a place before it's become another failed state. While it still has a difficult and perhaps bloody history, it's got to a point where there at least is a semblance of organization and directionality that comes at a certain kind of price. But can we read it in some way that makes sense to us now, and relate that to the struggles that we have? And I think that's quite interesting about going back to look at what Whicker is saying at a period where Britain is sort of obviously coasting out of its imperial moment, and is maybe not quite aware of its own decline fully yet at a level of ordinary people. It's in a relatively good period of history. But will that resonate with us now in that mode, that theme of collapses of power, collapses of empires? Will that give us something to chew on for the future that's coming up to us like a freight train? So I think that will be quite intriguing, and it might be good to look at more Whicker stuff in future. I've never really delved into Whicker stuff over much myself. I'm only really aware of him from the Monty Python sketch, Wicker Island and all that kind of thing.
He's got a very gripping style of writing and presenting the documentary. And of course, it was endlessly parodied, wasn't it? The kind of Alan Whicker talking like this in a foreign country, and these other people, sort of this idiosyncratic but sort of very almost charming way of delivering monologues.
Well, it is, yeah. And I think it's that thing of when we were kind of certain who we were abroad.
Yeah.
So we could bring a kind of a rooted perspective on things, and also, I think when men were a little less inclined to judge in a kind of flip or casual way, they would try and, as I say, imbibe the aromas of that particular civilization or culture, and encounter it in a way that was sort of, Star Trek in America famously in the 60s proposed a kind of idea of encountering the alien and not interfering with it in some way. But there's always something baked into that that's a little bit preachy and sanctimonious, really, because what it is we're not going to interfere with these ecologies, but we are definitely superior to them. So in a way, I think
the most insidious form, in my opinion. I hate that attitude.
Yeah, exactly. It's the thing of, you can think, yes, okay, we are superior to them, but Whicker allows a bit of suspension here, because it is the Englishman sometimes trying to even go native, trying to sort of pick up why are people behaving like this? Why do they think and do like this? And perhaps maybe after listening to someone like Whicker, you can understand why it might seem natural to be even dysfunctional in a place, or you might pick up something about a rarer aspect of a national sensibility. I always think the closest we can relate to is things like, can we understand and relate to the sensibility of bullfighting in Spain? Can we understand the sort of way that a European culture has a kind of ritualization of death in that way, and a sort of poetic quality around that? Can we sort of begin to understand that? Well, No, because we're beset by a kind of animal rights view of everything now. So there's no sense of the deep mystic elements of culture where we can sort of view them in modernity with that sense, like I said, about the buildings, and let them be. Can we just let people be in that way that they are? We don't have to incorporate them into our society, but can we, just witness what's going on and try to understand it at a better, more defined level than simply, well, will they allow us to build an American base here? No? Okay, bomb them.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we think differently about the rest of the world?
Yes. I also want to give a little bit of background to Haiti, in case people don't know. It's a country on the island of Saint-Domingue. On the island of Hispaniola, which contains the countries of Haiti and Dominican Republic. Sorry, because I've got these notes up that have all the historical names. And it's most famous for the fact that it was a French kind of slave sugar producing colony for a long time. It was extraordinarily lucrative. And conditions on the island were pretty bad if you were a slave. Though there were also quite a lot of free blacks and Creoles, and it was quite an interesting place actually. In terms of kind of ethnic diversity, if you like, in that you had Grand Blancs, or big whites, who were the kind of richest upper class French people who owned most of the land and so forth. You had Petit Blanc, the small whites, who were the kind of artisan class, your tailors and craftsmen and whatnot, kind of sort of whites of a more middle class status. You had all the various sort of in between racial classes of the mulattoes and Creoles and whatnot, who had all kinds of different social statuses. And you had also Grand Noirs, or big blacks, who were free blacks that had risen up the wealth ladder, and in many cases would own their own slaves. And then of course you had the slaves themselves, who were essentially just being worked to death. This was not like the American South, where you had a culture of basically looking after slaves as a kind of generational thing, where you would kind of have slaves who would live on the same plantation for generations and would be kind of well fed and treated well, and would be had some kind of support when they got too old to work and so forth, as was more the case in America. But in Haiti it was pretty grim. I mean, you basically would just work to death, sometimes over the course of a couple of weeks, because it was cheaper to keep importing new slaves than it was to look after the ones you had, basically. And due to a series of factors, there was an uprising. It's quite complicated. Basically, part of it's to do with the French Revolution. There was a revolution. A council of liberated slaves took power, and then a bit later on, they massacred all the non-black residents of the island, including the half-castes. Everybody was put to the saber. And then basically from then on, Haiti was independent, very cataclysmically so. They went through several different forms of government. They had a couple of monarchies. Then when they were a republic, corrupt, incompetent, didn't get up to much. They were eventually occupied by the United States in 1915, I think, or somewhere around that time, due to the collapse of the government completely. And the US basically kept the place running fairly decently for about 5 years or so. They left. Same sort of pattern repeats itself throughout the next intervening decades. And in the 1960s, a reformist black politician called Francois Duvalier, who's a doctor, is elected to power. And this is significant because he he's considered a populist member of the black lower classes, whereas previously pretty much all the leaders had been fairer-skinned upper class mulattoes. And so that's where we kind of set off here. So Papa Doc, as he's nicknamed by the people, becomes famous for this very, very brutal totalitarian regime, which is influenced by voodoo and spiritual elements as well, as a kind of power play over the still very superstitious and magical believing Haitian people.
Very interesting.
So yes, I'll just cue this up and we'll begin. So yes, Alan Whicker on Haiti, 1965. Oh.
The beautiful, bedeviled land of voodoo, manacled to a rhythm of corrupt government and bloody revolution. Haiti, and in the heart of its capital, Port-au-Prince, the presidential palace. From this stately arsenal, an isolated, despairing nation's ruled by a man who is everywhere. No other land has such sickly impact. You see his iron grip in the guns of his chosen. You feel his menace in the pit.
Such a great introduction.
It is, isn't it? Straight in.
Full on. You know, the beautiful, bedeviled land of Haiti.
It's all a bit Temple of Doom, isn't it?
But the music as well. I mean, the music is going crazy 8 bonkers already.
Yeah.
The imagery is really crisp. The sense of it already being in motion as you hit the screen is great. You know, it's you know, you're in at the end of a kind of, you know, well, no, at the beginning of just a incredibly dramatic adventure story, and our man in Haiti's coming in. It's just great. Yeah, lovely style.
That's fantastic.
Pit of your stomach. You hear his presence in the silence of his subjects. Papa Doc, Dr. Francois Duvalier, spiritual leader and president for life. His years of absolute power have brought terror to his people, ruin to his country, and the inescapable threat: whoever destroys Duvalier destroys Haiti. Papa Doc's rarely seen in these streets of his capital, but today he's expected to show himself to the people of this dark land, where a white face is unexpected, distrusted, hated, where it seems he needs adequate protection, even if he's only inaugurating a new building a few hundred yards from the presidential palace. This'll be the event of the year for poor Haiti, which has less to celebrate than any nation on earth, for it must survive the guns of the Tonton Macoute, Papa Doc's bogeymen, a murderous bunch of official thugs who live by extortion, by leaning upon their terrified countrymen, by spying. When their clever president came to power in 1957, he'd observed dictators were always overthrown by their armies. So he overthrew his, demoted it to less warlike duties, and recruited civilian volunteers. Here comes his seat of power. Waiting for its occupant, everyone's nervous, even the dreaded Tonton. Papa Doc has this nation by the throat.
By the way, just in case people don't, because I think we did discuss this once, but the Tonton Macoute, the name translates, I think, to something like Uncle Gunny Sack. It's or like Uncle Burlap. You know, the sack man. He's the kind of like a sort of Krampus type figure. You know, who picks up kids in a sack and takes them away. It goes way back into European folklore. Simon, I don't know if you know about this.
Well, I know about
that's the name. That's where the name comes from. Tonton Macoute. Quite frightening, really, because it's sort of childish, isn't it? Sort of thing. You know, it's literally like having them be called the boogeymen. You know, they're coming after you.
It's the interesting way it's styled as well. That this is not some part of the uniformed state. So there's this kind of prowling, dangerous ambiguity about them that you've got on the contrast of these, you know, extremely sharp suited guys with submachine guns walking around the street, looking, you know, very crisp. Yeah. And you've also got the you know, the older blokes who look like they just come from a game of dominoes down at the cafe, with a rifle, and this chap here with his kind of I don't know what's he got, a kind of mother of pearl handle? No, it's not a mother of pearl. What is it?
It's like a newspaper. He's got it wrapped in or something.
like an ivory handle or something on his 6-gun there in his waistband holster. It's the sort of the thing of that gives it an air of great attention that. There are these people who, you know, they walk among you more or less looking like civilians, and they're clearly marked out as not as not being that, and they're also not really concealing their faces in any great way either.
No,
you know where the power stands.
Yes, and as with Paraguay had a kind of similar network of informants and sort of civilian secret police, and one of the ways that these things work is that people aren't basically sort of everyone is assumed to be in it, if you like. So there are obviously people with proper memberships and training, but for the most part, people are kind of just like, here's a gun, you're a tauntaun now. Sort of, tell us anything you hear. It's because the problem is you don't really know who's in it and who isn't.
Not unlike East Germany in a way at the time. The Stasi running, something like 250,000 people or something in the population, just as kind of domestic informants, i.e., in your family, or in your friendship circle. That you obviously have no idea about the sort of interconnected network of surveillance that's going on. And while you can see these guys, as you say, there is that aura of menace from never really knowing.
Everyone's armed except the army. Haiti saw 69 revolutions in 50 years and stands always braced for invasion, assassination, death. In this black republic,
it must be said as well, it's quite sad to see how the streets are all so clean and everything looks so well ordered.
Yeah.
And you could clearly tell that for whatever else, Haiti was a functioning state in this period. It did actually have a functioning government in the true sense of the word, whereas now, of course, it is just an island of anarchy and cannibals and death. And I mean, you really can't over-exaggerate what a mess it is nowadays. I mean, to be clear, the government doesn't even, the quote-unquote official government doesn't even live on the island anymore. They've had to flee to some American base somewhere.
I thought it was mostly rubble now, Haiti, because of...
The capital is.
Yeah.
I don't know about the countryside.
It's the odd way, though, you see in some of these... What do we call them? Sort of aspirant or developing societies where elements of modernity have been brought in order to buttress the existing regime. There's always these odd contrasts. The soldiers in ceremonial uniforms, but with a machete, not a proper, not a ceremonial sword or anything, ostentatious in the formal way of identifying, ceremonial state power. The oddity of having a manicured garden area, but they've got what basically looks like an anti-aircraft type gun there.
Yeah, just sat there.
And soldiers kind of lounging around casually, not in the way that we keep a lot of this stuff very, very hidden. You see parades, yes, you see ceremonials, all that sort of stuff, but there's no kind of milling around in the same way, obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of there's a certain sort of trying to sound extremely racist saying this because I don't really want. But
we don't want any of that on this channel, Panama.
No. But it's I'm trying to think of a word to phrase it. Really, it's the point. It's that the the woke Simon taking me down a peg. It's that people such as these, let's call them. Have a kind of cargo cult mentality where they don't quite understand the appearance and the systems of Western style government. Yeah. So I think it was summed up best to me in the amazing Theodore Dalrymple travelogue where he goes to Monrovia in Liberia and he goes to some conference. It's in the middle of a civil war. He goes to a conference where all these kind of intellectuals and sort of slightly more well-to-do types are having a discussion on how to fix the country. And they've got a banner up that says like something like for a wholesome functioning society or something that doesn't really make much sense. And it's folded over itself. The one corner has come off and so half of it's obscured. Yeah. And someone giving a speech says, our country matters so much to us. And he says, he thinks to himself, but does it matter enough to put that banner right?
Yeah.
See, it's sort of, it's like everything's a bit slapdash. They'll as you say, they've got a manicured garden, but the guy's got a cheap knife, like the soldier's got a cheap machete sort of thing. It's very odd.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I don't want to quote that oft quoted passage from Raspail about the incomer, they won't understand. It's the way that you see, how you see in some of these African countries that are torn apart by civil war, you get these kind of troops of soldiers who are all dressed in these kind of fantastical ways, because the orientation of the sort of public facing symbology of a regime is meaningless. These guys, they could just be, you sort of see cheap fancy costumes that you get in a plastic packet that people buy to wear at a party. These uniforms kind of, in a sense, you feel mean as much as that. It's not really relational to the culture of the place. That's why they kind of seem awkward, ill at ease. They're not being managed as soldiers would be in a drilled way in public, and yet you have the tonton macoute, clearly they're wearing the appearance of a modern cityscape of urban professionals, with the casual adoption of military weapons, and it sort of doesn't kind of go together. These things are just kind of facades for something that isn't really gelling for this place. These are uncomfortable costumes that are being worn.
I mean, you get the sense that they don't really understand the reason for these functions of state, or why they should wear this or stand here in this way.
You can buy all the best kit. You can buy the limousine there, or you can get the right helmets and rifles and so on, and stick a bunch of people together. But there's kind of no ethic about it that we would recognize as being foundational. You don't just put on the superficies of power in that way. You have to have a kind of idea behind it, and they don't think in terms of having an idea. It's more just raw aggression and dominance, which people may say, well, we're filtering it through these elaborate systems of civic philosophy and political governance, but what you're seeing is certainly a kind of an absence of it here. It's not really going to take in any meaningful way.
Mm-hmm. Live means to be ready, to be on guard, to be suspicious. And always to honor the president.
That is one hell of a car. I've got to say, he's got great taste in car. Is that a Mercedes Grosser, if anybody knows? I think it might be. Because the Mercedes Grosser was famous for being a sort of dictator's car, effectively.
Dictator chic.
Lots of them had it.
Emerging at last from his bulletproof Mercedes, closely following his personal machine gun, Papa Doc.
Total Court, it's größer. There's in the German for presumably bigger or larger.
How does this insignificant little man with halting speech and halting walk, how does he inspire such fear? Perhaps because he kills ruthlessly and with indifference. Because
what do you make of his kind of look, Simon, as dictators go? Just a kind of pared down suit and just sort of Homburg hats,
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
It's certainly in keeping with the sort of a common view of dressing and power dressing, the sort of well-trodden observation that you usually get the visible elements of the state apparatus have, the right levels of gold braid and badging and rank slides and all of these kinds of things and epaulets and all of that. And the leader doesn't really need to show that. He is the actor on stage being made to look like the king by everybody else. So he kind of, in a way, exerts more mystique by being slightly cramped and shambling, in a strange way, because it begs the question to the observing audience, You know, look at the amount of heat around this guy, and yet he doesn't appear to be much. But he must have some sort of magic power then to be inhabiting such a frail frame, and to be seemingly so insignificant. You know, a bank clerk, but clearly a man to be reckoned with if you judge him by, you know, the setting in which the jewel is placed, so to speak. So yeah, I feel it's kind of typical in a way, and maybe he's not too shabby. Everybody's quite sharply suited here, but the fact he comes out wearing a hat, it kind of looks slightly odd compared to everybody else. He's not a modern machine politician. He's got that element of being slightly withdrawn from the crowd, and it almost felt like he was having to get out the car and start giving people instructions on what to do and pointing at things, and almost to sort of, you know, why is that there? What are you doing? What's going on? As if it is kind of slightly falling apart around him, and he kind of does have to kind of yank the leash now and again and say, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, and we should say as well that part of the reason he was always in civilian suit was because a huge amount of his political appeal was the fact that he wasn't a military president. He wasn't another dictator or just some general who'd staged a putsch. The whole idea was that he was, you know, I mean, he did win a legitimate election, you know, to come to power in the first place. That was, again, very important part of his image. So I think again, he deliberately doesn't have that bearing to him. He does have that kind of shambling, sort of slightly old manish type way of holding himself.
I wonder if it's a French influence as well. That, you know, if you were looking at a more you know, Hispanic kind of influence, like you have in South America proper, in this kind of era, the thing of the ostentation of braid and big caps and capes and all of that stuff, whereas the French kind of do have this minimization aesthetic, this sense of discretion, the sense of the hidden, or restrained at least, you know, sartorially. But in you know, as I said, in the sort of European model of certain kinds of dictatorship, it's very much dressing down. You know, the Führer doesn't need a very elaborate uniform, so to speak.
No.
It could be quite plain, because in a sense that gives the sense of investment of power in him and his person, his body, more than the outward shows that everybody else adopts to, you know, cluster around him. So yeah, it's curious. It's curious.
Yeah, he's almost got that sort of slight sort of 60s cool sort of Yves Saint Laurent or chic about him, doesn't he? With his sort of slim suit.
Duke Valentino says he combined voodoo with Machiavellianism. I mean,
it's true. It's true. He was whip smart. I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing when it came to ruling over the Haitians. And yeah, he probably would have been the most well-read man. Just he would have been, I think.
Welcome to Recusant Pulse, who has joined as a new member to the channel.
Oh yes, indeed. Well, thank you, Recusant Pulse. Packet of cornflakes on their way to you, sir.
Long-time viewer.
His nationalised hoodlums hold their guns high and are free to tax and torment.
See, Keir Starmer could have had this, but he chickened out. Can you imagine? You know, he could have held off, dug in.
I promised to nationalise hoodlums.
Yeah.
He could have done it, Simon. He could have been our man, you know. Stop the boats, crush those bloody Labour lefties, you know. Sir Keir Starmer. He could have done it.
Yeah.
But no.
In the centre of such menace, an elegant Creole, Madame Simon Duvalier, who married a selfless, unknown country doctor, but today finds herself beside a significant tyrant. Papa Doc carelessly terrorizes his countrymen and turns his back on foreigners, indifferent to world opinion. After that silly spy trial, David Knox was sentenced to death, the United States ambassador was expelled, and the Catholic Archbishop of Haiti was banished. His Grace was dragged from his bed by Tonton and not even allowed to collect his false teeth before deportation. When Tonton began demanding money from foreigners, the British ambassador complained, so he was thrown out and the embassy closed. Revolutionary bombs still explode in Port-au-Prince, though the wonder is there's anyone left to criticize, let alone attack. For this little man's believed to have executed 2,000 Haitians and has certainly driven 30,000 into exile and the rest into terrified silence. All Haiti lives under the threat of his tontons, his bagmen, his executioners. To provoke these overarmed bully boys is to invite a beating or death. For each nationalized hoodlum is armed, each licensed to kill. A missing Haitian would be unimportant and
I wonder what Meads would think of all this modernist and brutalist architecture they've got here in the capital. I can guarantee you it's not there now. Torn away.
No. Again, it seems like this era of stylistic afterthought. We need to get a few bits and pieces to kind of tart the place up and
have it in the latest style.
Yeah, give it an air of jet-setting chic. But I'm interesting. I'm observing the way that the guns are being held. That even if these people were doing a close protection detail for an important political figure, there's a sort of lot of casual loping around with people holding weapons in ways that you wouldn't likely be doing.
Apparently the stream's gone. Stream's gone.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. What's happened? I hope it's not copyright.
Is it on YouTube?
No, I think it is. I got this off YouTube, so it must be. What's going on? Stream suspended for policy violation.
Suspended. Oh no.
Oh bugger.
Can anyone hear us?
No, they can't hear us.
No.
I'm afraid. Stream's gone. Well, I don't see how though. This is on YouTube. Maybe if I demonetize the video.
Interesting.
Ads off. This is no good, Simon.
Noticed, but a foreigner's arrest or death can be ordered only by the president, whose public holiday is now over, though it seemed more like a sharpshooter's conviction.
Suspended for policy violations.
Oh, it says. Work, is it? Oh shit. Well, that buggers that, doesn't it? There's not really anything we can do, to be honest.
What happened last time? The thing where it came back on after we stopped playing London or something.
I think it's got us. It's not coming back in and out.
Wow.
If I turn the sound off. No.
No.
What can we do? Maybe if I put it on a really small window or something.
Can you? I don't know. Can we relaunch the stream? Like exit the studio and come in on the link again?
It'll just do the same thing. It won't let us play this.
It's fully attached.
I'm just annoyed because this is on you. This video is on YouTube. I don't see why this is getting. Well, we'll just have to close it then, I'm afraid.
Balls.
Well, that's a bugger, isn't it? What are we going to do now?
Is there any way we can just generate a new link, like a part 2 link, and come back and?
No, because we can't do the video.
We definitely can't do the video, but it would just come back as a plain.
Well, I think because we did do it. We did. We may as well just keep it as one big stream. I'm just going through the folder.
Okay.
Why is it not? Actually, it should be relaunching now, but it isn't. It's like the BBC test card. We've got to have something to do. So
yeah,
do Jeffrey Bernard again. Jeffrey Bernard is unwell to play this time. I don't want to do that.
There's anything we can get away with.
We could do Vivian Stanshall. I've got the Vivian Stanshall one man's week thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, good try.
It's a bit of a jump from Papa Doc to this.
We're just changing the mood. We just thought we'd change the mood.
Could we? What if there's any other
I mean,
so annoying.
We could try.
Hang on.
Do we? Do you want us to exit and generate a new link or something? And
I think I'm going to have to because it's not.
It'll just be the aftermath. We call it the aftermath stream or something. Sort of the mopping up, the post copyright earthquake stream.
I was quite keen to try and save this one, but it's. Oh, we're back.
Ooh,
we are back.
Yes, we were wrapped on the knuckles.
We were, yeah. They wouldn't let us play it, which is annoying because it's literally on YouTube again.
I mean, this is our main frustration, isn't it? This is all material that the taxpayer has paid for over decades, multiple times. Everybody's been remunerated extremely well at the BBC, including Alan Whicker, the late Alan Whicker, and yet we can't watch this work. This is appalling.
I don't get it. The documentary is on. It's been uploaded to YouTube about 4 times.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all there. It's all there. I don't understand why we're getting taken down for this.
What is the difficulty, BBC? Oh well, never mind.
There's always there's always Meadsy, Simon.
There's always Meads, but
I mean,
well, you know, we could do a bit of Meads. What do chat think? You know, do you think we?
Well, we're pretty stuck for options otherwise.
We were discussing various things: Meads, Viv Stanshall. Maybe we have to find something the BBC really wants to push, and then aggressively critique that.
I don't think I could stand that, Simon.
Yeah. Somebody says it's because we're taking super chats, etc. So is it the monetization?
Is that why? Well, I mean, there's nothing I can really do about it. Everyone just tell everyone to stop sending us super chats.
We're now going to represent the Alan Whicker documentary in the form of mime.
We can do an
interpretive dance of Whicker in Haiti. It's going to get a bit messy, but oh well, there you are. Once again, we are stricken by the evil digital rights management regime. Boo! Boo!
Which other Meads have you got, Simon? Because I've got the one on Franco's buildings, which I watched and thought was terrible.
Well, there's various ones. I mean, there's one on Birmingham called Heart Bypass.
Oh, no.
I mentioned. Yeah.
I want to do Haiti.
How catastrophic that is. There is there's Joy of Essex is meant to be okay. There's all sorts of Meads. Let's have a look at what I'm Jonathan Meads. Here we go. Let's have a look and see what's in the catalogue. So yeah, I mean the ones on Franco and Mussolini and Moustache Man and all that stuff. Yeah, okay, maybe a bit heavy going right now. There's Meads Double Dutch. He's obviously looking at the Netherlands there. Meads Remember the Future, which is a short half-hour documentary. That's possibly an interesting way to go. He's got his Travels with Pevsner series from 1990. Oh, it might just be a one-off episode, actually. His one on surreal film. Do you think we should just sort of park ourselves?
Yeah, let's do that one. If you send me the link, I'll download it.
Let me just find a link, and
Simon, why?
In the private chat. Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have to tear these institutions a new arsehole at some point and say, why are you doing this? Why can't we watch our own back catalogue?
To be clear, chat, it wasn't the music. I've got an email here from YouTube saying it was the actual. It was the doc that was causing it. I was so looking forward to that. That was going to be such a good thing to react to, wasn't it? Just the madness of Haiti.
We've both had it ripped out from under us now. Me with Patrick Keeler's London, Panama with Alan Whicker. I don't know.
Because also the follow-up was going to be Whicker on Paraguay. We can't do that now.
I mean, maybe we have to reconcile ourselves, like our good friend Mr. John D, who last night did a very good watch-along of Stanley Kubrick's Lolita, which you should go and watch. Go and look at Mr. D's channel. I believe he's on Rumble as well as on Twitter. So at John D, at IOHNDEE is usually his moniker. Certainly it is on Twitter. Look him up and have a look at that that film. If you've not seen it before, it's the first time I'd seen it for about 20 years, and it's much better than I remembered, actually. It's very, very, very funny and unsettling film, which is in a good way. It's surprising what you can do with a subject like paedophilia, but you clearly can.
That's going to go in the Simon Roberts quote annual.
Well, I mean, they sort of trick it in the film that she's not 11 as she is in the book. She's kind of she's 14, and she obviously seems precociously mature as well. But the nature of the story in the end, actually, when you watch, you realize it's not in a way about paedophilia at all. It's about a man who destroys himself through his own romanticism.
Yes,
and
yes.
is outwitted by the venal, cynical Peter Sellers character, Quilty. So yeah, it's a very, very intriguing film, the way it operates, and the sort of the comedy from the hypersexualized nature of the interactions in the film in the first, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes or so is wonderful, actually, that you really, you thought, I never thought this film would be like this. It's very, very amusing. The way that this mid-century liberalized America is just full of people gagging for it. I mean, it's just great. But the way it's done, it's not done with kind of British, wink, wink, nudge, nudge innuendo. It's just done by this. Well, there's some very obviously funny things in there, which I won't spoil. You've got to go and watch it. But it's something about the sensibility. Again, you've mentioned him before, and we've obviously covered him on Curtis Deepest Law, Saeed Qutb in the Mayfair set, when he goes to America in the late 40s, and he sees people, drifting like these helpless lost souls amid a kind of a ravage of a modernity hollowing them out spiritually. And that's what you see in that film in Lolita, actually. That's what you realize it is, that material affluence has gilded everybody's existence so greatly that they have become completely supine to a life of just pursuing libidinal pleasures, and they do so without realizing what they're doing anymore, and they're so caught up with it. And the man who comes into that world with a kind of distorted romantic view, in a sense, ends up being the one who fares the worst and who goes under harder and faster morally and personally than even the people who are living in the psycho blitzed post-Freudian America. So yeah, it's a great film, great watch along, and you will enjoy if you go and pick that up. So I would advertise that for our good friend Mr. D as well.
Yes, indeed. Please go and watch Review, because he's a sensible person who uses Twitter instead of YouTube like us. He did get his stream taken down, so it's actually complete. Maybe we'll have to do some Twitter specials, Simon, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we have to take refuge, in these free speech platforms in order just to watch a bit of old telly that doesn't get repeated anymore.
I bet now the bloody Mead stream will get taken down as well. They'll go, oh no, that's in the back catalogue. That belongs to the Beeb.
Oh no. Well, yeah, we do also suggest that people download and keep our streams as soon as we do them.
For God's sake.
For posterity, in order that they may live on in some sort of form. But for now, yes, it looks like Alan Whicker has been put to rest, which is a shame. I wonder how long this mechanism is, whereby they suspend you and then you come back. I wonder if it can be got round in any way. Any experts on this sort of thing, do let us know in the chat. We have got the link to the other Meads doco. Do we want to take the magnificently audacious risk of delving into surreal film?
It's coming, Simon.
Yeah. So
the real film is on its way.
It's all coming. The
quality's not great.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, Simon. Right.
We might just have to stop it more frequently or something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, the other Mead stuff was all right. So
yeah.
Right. I'm going to refill my glass, Simon. If you wouldn't mind shilling briefly.
Absolutely. You're tuned in to the Panama Hat channel here on YouTube, and we are presenting you with the derelict of the arts, culture, and all of human achievement in whatever form we can retrieve it from the dung heap of time. We are taking these gems, polishing them up, holding them up to the light, and allowing that light to refract through like a million glorious shades of meaning that we are imparting to you through your brain and your ears and eyes. So thank you very much for tuning in. We are rescuing a stream, which we started out earlier today with the late Alan Whicker's documentary on the island of Haiti and Papa Doc Duvalier from 1965, which the BBC, being the sort of typical ocean-going shitheads they are, have nixed very quickly into the documentary for unsurprisingly copyright reasons. We are copyright violators of an unwitting and we don't mean to do it. You know, we are trying to do this in the best interests of discussion, education, and broadening appreciation of the BBC's fantastic archive of quality documentaries, which they basically no longer make, and allowing people to share in those reviews, gain thereby knowledge, wisdom, and a certain ambience on a summer afternoon in England, where, let's face it, entertainment is pretty thin on the ground if you're looking to the world of politics or news or anything like that. So we will continue with a documentary by Jonathan Meades, our favorite grumpy architecturalist, cynic and documentarian on surreal film, which I have not seen in full. I've seen clips of, but which should be, hopefully, an unmitigated stream of whimsy and joy, which we can pause and giggle at occasionally while we finish off the dregs, of our drinks, vodka and orange, and a Panama, probably pouring a sort of a hefty draft of something high spirits, I should imagine, maybe whiskey, maybe gin. Panama is having to revive his spirits by taking some spirits in, so we can lift your spirits in the spirit of entertainment. So, you know, that's quite good, isn't it? Just looking at comments, I don't understand how Curtis watch-alongs work fine, but Alan Whicker triggers the sensors. What's going on? Says Recusant Pulse. Well, yeah, this is a kind of mystery, and I've always bemoaned, I mean, you know, pathetically and rhetorically, why is it that they can't have a clearer system of how one can use this material for, considering the fact that, you know, it was broadcast over 60 years ago. Very few people are replaying and watching Alan Whicker these days, and we are enjoining the elite of our cadre to improve their education with it. So I kind of don't see what the downsides are. It's possible, I suppose, that we may be depriving somebody of £1.75 of royalties for that work if they're still alive. But I very much doubt that their estate will suffer thereby if we do a monetized stream on that. So we will just plow on manfully and pick up what we can, like I say, out of the, you know, it's like we are sort of diving into the bin and going through the styrofoam trays of old kebab and seeing if we can, you know, pick out a few bits of pita bread and maybe some dodgy lamb, which we can then sort of suck on and gain thereby some sort of sustenance with which we hope to survive into the next stream, where we will have hopefully planned something that doesn't get copyright slammed in this way. So we will do our best, but as ever, it's a chancy, leery game, and someone's got to do it. And in this case, we have been punished. We have been flayed brutally, and we have learned our lesson. We are ever so sorry, and we won't do it again. Thank you.
Talk about voodoo, Simon. It really is like voodoo, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is. Yes,
and just to buttress what Simon said, cough up, donate to the Ko-Fi, keep us rolling, and
your money.
Here's Meades again.
Here's Jonathan Meades. What year is this?
Good question. 2001.
2001.
Year I came into world.
Aye.
strange, almost surreal tussle going on at the moment.
There's going to be rather a surreal coincidence.
Slightly surreal, really.
Slightly
Surreal and surreal.
A surreal coincidence.
Strange, almost surreal tussle going on at the moment.
Surreal. Slightly surreal coincidence.
Surreal tussle going on at the moment.
A surreal coincidence. Slightly. It was a surreal
Tussle going on at the moment.
This is quite calming.
Surreal. Totally surreal. Well surreal. Double surreal. What does surreal mean? Does it mean anything? Is it merely a synonym of strange? Lazy fancy speak for weird? What do you, the people, think it means?
Yes, I do know what it means.
Oh dear.
Is that it then?
Is he going to bring on
Funny
Gumby?
peculiar?
It's a Pythonic Wind in the Willows homages here.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, both, I suppose. So I'm booting with a Bailey's top, my brother.
What's that a reference to? The nun's headdress? Is that like Bunwell or something?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. It's ringing a bell, but I don't recall exactly. Maybe it's just him being surreal for surreal's sake. I don't know.
Nuns with massive headdress on film.
Nuns on film.
That's a very good one. Nuns on film. Excellent.
Nuns on film. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Could be. Oh, interesting. There's okay. The Trouble with Angels, 1966, classic comedy film directed by Ida Lupino, with several sisters wearing traditional habits with large wing-like cornets. I think the cornets is the starched cornet. Yeah. Yeah. That's the headdress.
Right.
Historically worn by the Daughters of Charity. And it could also be a sideways reference to The Flying Nun, the TV show of the 60s with Sally Field. And she has very big cornets which allow her to fly. So it could be that. I suspect it's probably the Trouble with Angels film.
Yeah, I would think so. That's probably sounds sort of up Meads' alley, really.
Oh no, hang on. I could be wrong. No, I could be wrong. Trouble with Angels doesn't look like that at all. I've just searched for some screenshots from that. So it's not that. So there you go. AI is not your friend. It doesn't tell you the truth. No, it's not that. I don't know. But I had a feeling it was something like Bunwell or something. Yeah. Anyway.
It means bizarre.
Is that bizarre feel? Yeah. Bizarre.
I thought you said I could be Tsarina.
Christopher Biggins there, I think.
It does mean bizarre, but the tamed end of bizarre. The surrealists of the 20s and 30s took the bizarre out of the wild and incarcerated it in a zoo. They domesticated a feral instinct, expunged the savagery, sought to keep it for themselves and their precious movement. When, of course, the irrational really belongs to all of us, to all ages, if not to all cultures.
Well, it's two words, isn't it? Sir meaning south and real meaning royal. Royal South. Surreal. Olay.
Wrong. wrong etymology. But surrealism did come from the South, and the artist with whom it is regrettably most readily associable, the 20th century's aptest anagram, Avida Dollars, was nothing if not a fawning royalist.
They used to call him that. Avida
Really?
Dollars. Yeah, that was it. Because at the outbreak of the Civil War in Spain, he said, right, that's it. Sick of Europe. I'm sick of this infighting and depression and, you know, all this nonsense. I'm going to America because there's money in America. I mean, personally, I think that's respectable because he was open about it. He said, no, I'm going to America to make some money. You know, and of course he was excoriated for this by the sort of fake communist anarchist left types for just being honest, really, and saying, I don't believe in any of this. I want to be a millionaire, you know. Yeah, he then came back to Spain sometime later after the Second World War, and was made a peer by the king, or by Franco, I think.
Played a blinder.
I don't remember if it was. Yeah, he made a peer. Used to have tea with Franco occasionally, and then retired wealthy and successful. So, I mean, I'm personally a great fan and defender of Dali. So, I'll probably butt heads with Mies a few times in this, I would think.
So fawning indeed that after he was presented to HRH Queen Elizabeth II of England and to the Duke of Edinburgh, Dali's anxiety not to display lèse-majesté was such that when he took his leave of the royal couple, he declined to turn his back on them.
What a splendid example of un acte gratuit, Philip. How generous of Senor Dali.
To destroy is to create, old thing. Totally surreal.
Do you remember that story Uncle Louis's friend from the old country told us about Senor Dali? Oh, what was he called?
Herr Max Ernst. He was well surreal.
But what was the name of that common little man who...
Unwell. Too surreal by half, if you want my opinion.
Senor Dali was quite right to get him sacked.
Maurice Bonewell was called in by his employers and asked if he'd made this impious atheistic film, which Salvador Dali had disowned. Bonewell said yes, of course.
A little self-impression there, Mr.
They
Mies.
sacked him.
It's not as good as ours, Simon.
Not really.
Doesn't have an edge on us.
All right, a few days later, Bonewell and Dali run into each other on Fifth Avenue. Dali sticks out his mitt, which Bonewell refuses to shake. Bonewell says, "It was you who got them to give me the boot, wasn't it?" And he stuck one on him.
Monsieur Bonewell, you hit Salvador Dali. Is that correct? If surreal is now just another word for odd, the one thing that cannot be described as surreal is pictorial surrealism, which is...
Hey, you! What's that you were saying about it coming from the south and being royal? Bollocks! It comes from the west. It's Republican.
Bobby Sands was a provisional surrealist. He sought the infant within the man. In his most celebrated work, he pursued nostalgie de la boue with a fervor and literality that even the coprophile Dali never succumbed to. Dali's medium was paint. Sands went much further. He adopted a stratagem of Marcel Duchamp's and created an ever-mutating installation which he knew no one would ever see, which he knew would be destroyed after his death, which was also a surrealist act.
Pause.
Gratuitous, anarchic.
Is that true? Salvador Dali was a coprophile?
I don't think so. I just took that as Meads referring to something offhandedly.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard anything like that.
So the idea is he's framing Bobby Sands and his dirty protest of smearing shit on the walls in the H block where he was imprisoned in the 70s as a a kind of surrealist intervention?
I think so, which is a bit of a stretch, really, because he just made the point that surrealism is not the odd. I mean, he does have something of a point in that I think the guy that got closest to a true definition of surrealism was Louis Aragon, when he said the most surreal act would be to walk out into the street and fire a gun randomly into the crowd. Right. In if you like, it's the moments in life that are kind of shockingly real as opposed to odd that really give you that feeling of the surreal, I think. More so than, oh, look, it's a man riding a turkey with a broomstick on his head type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very different.
Irrational, romantic, and truly heroic.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God!
Even when there is no train, the tunnel is still there. To the British, Hitchcock is a manufacturer of thrillers, and Lewis Carroll is a mere children's writer. Continental Europe regards them differently, reveres them as great artists, inventors, artificers, de facto surrealists, who delve, literally as often as not, beneath the surface skein of the observable world.
He's dead. I'm not. I'm forever.
So's Lewis Carroll.
Not so forever as in me, my dear. The Creator lives merely by leave of his creatures, his creations. They buried me here in 1934. I am forever, aren't I?
I am forever. Aren't I?
That's the power of myth, of art, of fiction, of imagination. It causes eternity to beckon. It kills off the notion of there being no life after body death.
Right then. Surrealism came from the South.
I reckon you could do one of those art installation things, but it's just a video of him doing that. Just endlessly. Just he goes back and forth in the corridor. That would work quite well, I think. Might apply to a gallery for that.
I'm just wondering if do we prefer wide meads or do we prefer narrow meads? I feel he's more really a wide man.
Well, I mean, the most of the ones we've seen have been like post-restaurant critic meads. Where he's sort of lost weight, isn't he? I don't think we've seen any really old ones where he's sort of, Chungus meads, wide meads. Chungus meads. I don't think we've. I'd have to watch more of the catalogue and compare.
The wide and rolling meads of England.
One of our great stately homos.
Yeah.
And from the West. Where else did it come from?
This map, published in 1929 in Variété, shows where the surrealists thought surrealism came from. It's a cartographic homage to the cultures that they believed to be their sources and their inspiration, that they believed they owed a debt to. They'd merely plundered them. But that's the European way. Colonization through appropriation.
Oh, steady on, Jonathan.
Thus Labrador, Russia, Alaska, Polynesia, and Ireland are inflated.
Not everybody knows how I killed old Philip Mather, smashing his jaw in with my spade.
The USA and Spain don't exist. Africa, France, and Britain have shrunk.
These are neat enough gags, but they're evidence too of vanity and delusion. The diminution of Africa is especially telling.
African art had been influential on Western artists since the turn of the 20th century. It was a way out of the continuum of the Renaissance. The Surrealists wanted to be different. So, out with African art and in with Inuit art, Easter Island art.
Footage there of Patrice Lumumba being captured and humiliated by the soldiers of Mobutu.
This map is wrong. It denies Surrealism's Eurocentricity. One history of the 20th century is the history of bourgeois guilt and of its attempted expiation through stay-at-home plundering. Europe tried to absolve itself of slavery and colonialism by appropriating the idioms of alien cultures. Europe is a living museum, the warehouse of the world, the great plunderer, which is why it's the center of civilization and of cultural suicide.
Supposedly, we're being told these nuns are a reference to Dusty Bonget, 1939.
What's that?
Rather than what we thought. I don't know what that is, though.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. It's just apparently, but we were wrong about it being a reference to something else. So.
Can blue men sing the whites? Yeah. Or are they hypocrites? A more accurate map of Surrealism looks like this. It is equally a map of Catholic Europe, which is apt. Surrealism flourished in Catholic countries, where Christian mythology is sustained by a gamut of rituals which render the fantastical inseparable from the everyday. The dourness and unimaginative literality of Protestantism produces dourly, unimaginative naturalism.
Whilst Surrealism may have been fervently anti-clerical, it knew its enemy.
It purloined clerical garb and ecclesiastical practices. Surrealism was born of the religious impulse, of a desire for mysteries, but not the old threadbare mysteries. Though it certainly adhered to the conviction that there is more to it all than the objective world. It was concerned to build new mythologies of its own. It believed in the primacy of the imagination. It represented what could not be seen. It invented worlds, rather than vainly trying to copy what is supposedly before us.
I quite like this idea that, in a sense, Surrealism was a replacement for the loss of just the everyday mysticality of being in a Catholic country like, say Spain, where, you know, in the deepest depths of very Catholic rural Spain, say, you would have been living in a kind of magic world, you know, just every day. It wouldn't have been a case of going down to the church to get your dose of spirituality every week. It would have been a case of being constantly there.
So is it sort of, because I'm just relating this to, we talked about a field in England, and the way in which we think about these reinventions of history. Do you think it's a kind of just a sort of a med Catholic form of reenchantment, that's going on in a similar way to the way something like a field in England is a kind of reenchantment of a historical period and a sense of connection to the countryside, to the place, and a mythology that has been forgotten, and they are trying here to to. He says this sort of. It was like they've got some sort of project. It's almost like a progressive political kind of sensibility in a way, but it's some form of intervention, not so much about addressing the material world, but about recapturing the mystical in this way of a sort of shock of the new in order to re-find it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wonder if there's something like
but
that.
It's like sort of non-magical magic, if you like.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something about Catholicism in particular that it takes this form, because obviously, yeah, we all think Catholic, Church of bells and smells, icons, holy relics. In a way, a sense that a church that's kind of more materially located through its artifacts and through its imagery than, as he says, dour kind of mercantile Protestantism. I don't know what you think about that as a Catholic.
Well, I wouldn't call myself that really in the strict sense of the word, but I mean, as someone who's influenced by that type of belief, I mean, it's an interesting idea, to put it that way. I mean, I do think there's a reason that these things took more of a hold in the southern lands than they did in Germany or the Nordic countries. I would think, yeah, I mean, because you just don't see the same patterns outside of the kind of folklore in general. There is a kind of more literalist view of everything. All the German answers went for kind of strict Bauhaus and kind of hard lines and sort of nailed down literary theories. There is definitely a good point Meads has made here. I hadn't really considered this before.
It made the figurative plastic and concrete. It demonstrated that anything is possible, that the imagination should not be trammeled by facts, circumstances, usage.
Monsieur Benuel, c'est vrai que vous lui avez flanqué un gifle, Dali?
Gosh, didn't know that was what Bunwell actually looked like.
Yeah, he wasn't a looker of the.
He was no oil painting.
He weren't. No.
Interesting.
Excellent filmmaker though.
Yeah.
My dear, I hadn't noticed how you changed.
You hadn't met me before 5 pages or 7 minutes ago.
Well, all the better to see how you changed. And my, you have lost weight.
Yes, I have. And I don't know where to find it.
And he doesn't know where to find it.
I'll show you. I'll show you where to find it.
I'll help you. I know where it'll have gone.
Like I say, anything is possible.
Proper self-indulgent Meads.
What happens when we REM? The world is reordered according to our desires and anxieties. Reason sleeps when we sleep. Surrealism connotes merely a 20 or so year span of the eternal human urge to replicate the reality that is achieved in dreams and in cerebral afflictions where reason absents itself.
Go on, get in there. Not without a condom. I'll give you the pick of the animals. You're on.
That eternal human urge seeks to replicate in art what we experience through trance and narcosis when we will reason to absent itself. In pre-childhood, where we have yet to learn it, to learn anything save the luxury of uterine dependence. The urge has always been with us. It merely lacked a name till Guillaume Apollinaire came up with surrealism. The Surrealist movement ludicrously attempted the codification of that urge. Its commissar, André Breton, imposed rules where there can be no rules. But then he was no artist and not much of a writer. He was the prototype of the Stalinist cultural impresario. He had a taste for purges and manifestos. He diminished the eternal urge by turning it into another art movement, another school of literature, another ism. when it is, rather, a state of mind, a sensibility, an impulse, an elemental need to exteriorize or exorcise the interior phenomena we experience when we're freed of reason's straitjacket, when cause and effect seems a construct of the most banal kind, when Judeo-Christian morality seems like an elaborately frivolous system of suppression, when clock time is exposed as a job opportunity for the Swiss, when linear logic has yet to be invented, when the notion of meaning has no meaning.
Pause. So, is that a cheeky reference to Stephen Milligan, the Tory MP who was found dead after some autoerotic asphyxia with an orange in his mouth?
Yeah, possibly. I think it must be, because what else would that be?
I wonder if it's because he's doing it at 2001 here. There's these kind of references to sort of rave, and it's almost like it's a kind of fin de siècle moment in itself, that a kind of culture of sort of mysticism and trance that's happened through the 90s is being sort of downward resolved, into this pragmatic political moment, where, because this is obviously 4 years post Blair election, and everything's kind of coming down to sort of hard, rational, Homo economicus, and it's lost some of that zest that he's trying to relate to, surrealism as a counter to the political, as a some sort of ability to reimagine that has been foreclosed by Blair and the neoliberal moment.
Yes. That's the thing. There is a sort of slightly wild sense of this show that I feel is very sort of sign of the times. I don't think you'd really be able to make this now, and I don't mean that in any kind of always too sort of edgy sense. I mean, it just wouldn't. This kind of creativity wouldn't really fly at the BBC now. They'd insist on very stolid, staid kind of thing. Well, I mean, they wouldn't make this type of show at all. It would just be considered too intellectual for the plebs. They were give them more Ramesh Ranganathan and random EastEnders celebrities. Yeah.
I mean, in a strange way, Meads is a kind of he's a kind of lingering aftertaste of that period of creative formalism I talked about, late 80s to mid 90s, and there's a sort of home for him to do these slightly more experimental, documentaries, which are formalist in its own way. They have an auteur look about them, and you feel much more that it's probably the medium of drama now, whereby they, as you say, they wouldn't do these things because if they want sideways comment on the world, they sort of want it to come in a kind of normative fashion by the world building you get from a piece of drama, which you can then subvert and inflect with these kinds of what if agendas of now, and dramatize these, because in a sense the drama is much more immediately available to be read as an injunctive for people to kind of emulate or to think about or to normalize, because their own lives are made to sort of feel like dramas. And documentary and education is kind of not seen as a BBC function anymore so much as nudging.
Yes, indeed. I reckon you and I could put a program like this together, Simon. We'd probably be much better at it, actually. We may not have the screen presence of Mr. Meads, but we could probably,
No, we'd have more. We'd have more screen presence of Mr. Meads, but precisely because we might not actually even appear on screen. We'd actually do something with the money, though. I increasingly felt, not only have we got copyright struck, we've had to make one of these kind of mutant streams, like where people, stitch the head of one animal onto the body of another. But it does speak to, as they say, that sense of the injustice of the hoarding of billions of pounds by organisations like the BBC to effectively create these cultural modes and then withdraw them. Yeah, that's what bothers me. There isn't, as you say, there's an absence where a Meads should be or where another interesting stylist should be, and it's been shifted to something much more like slop fast food of entertainment, and yet we languish here, copyright struck, and helpless.
Well, listen, if anybody wants Simon and I to make an actual doco, then cough up some budget and we'll get on it straight away.
I mean, what would cover
Can
it?
be done.
100 grand probably. That'd probably cover it.
100 grand. I mean, if anyone's got a bit of pocket change, or if any of you happen to be, wealthy international bourgeoisie, then.
I mean, short documentary for 100 grand. A longer one would cost you a lot more.
Oh, I suppose it depends what it's on, really, and what it's about. I mean, because if we use that 100 grand to just buy stock footage, say, we could make like a 2-hour sort of special on something, with lots of narration. But if we actually have to go out and film things and buy cameras, then that's going to be,
I mean, the thing is, the reality also is, it's frustrating, is that TV people are incredibly stingy. They really are. Earlier, late last year, I was going to get involved in doing a bit of consulting on a project. And basically, when you sort of present them with the kind of the rates that you would charge to do something, they don't want to know at that point, because really, I mean, it's funny, we talked about yesterday about people not talking about the Odyssey and yet continuing to talk about it. There's a story I saw of, they hired this replica, it's like a replica Viking longboat to use in some of the shots in the Odyssey. And apparently they returned this thing after they'd spent 6 months filming it, and it's kind of quite beaten up and wrecked. And the people who rented it to them sort of, you're going to make good on repairs to this item of ours that you've damaged during filming. And of course, the company didn't want to know, the production company. And it's not just Hollywood; it's the production companies in Britain as well. They're just incredibly mean-minded, and they either want things for nothing or next to nothing. And they never save any budget for you coming in if you're an external advisor or consultant or anything like that. And it's very annoying because they pay themselves very handsomely. The producers, the directors,
they're never
the
stingy in that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. But by the time it gets to you, there's nothing left, which is interesting. Ricky's and Pulse says, how much would it cost for an hour of Slavoj Zizek, Hat, and Will Self, Simon, in conversation?
500
more than you can possibly imagine. I couldn't keep up Will Self for
I'll
that
do
long.
I'll do it for $500,000. I'll do it for $500,000. I don't know about Simon, but we have different feelings.
Panama cheaply undercutting us there, but fair enough.
But yes, well, I mean, because they're always, and also because they put bean counters in charge of things when they shouldn't be. They should just be there to literally write up the literally to write the books up. They shouldn't be making decisions on anything.
Partly because it's basically it's a unionized closed shop, really, because all the people who make the programs, they all have to get Beck 2 rates for doing things, which for film and TV are actually pretty generous rates. They probably factor in a certain amount because people may not be moving immediately on to another job. But the daily rates, even for runners on things, are quite good. As you go up in the sort of the hierarchies of film crews and production crews, people can be getting very good money. But strangely, there's none left for anybody else when they want to do something or borrow something or use some knowledge or something like that. So, yeah, I've given up on film and telly people. There's just no point. You want budget to make your own stuff and spend the money better.
I'm sure.
Yeah. This is, I don't know if I'd mentioned this before on a stream, but this is the thing that Adam Curtis was talking about in one of his interviews, that people said, well, why don't you appear on screen? He said, well, because if you're at the BBC, he said, you get classed as a presenter if you appear on screen. And he basically didn't use the word retards, but he says basically everybody knows in the business that presenters are retards. That's kind of his position. He said, so you don't want to be a presenter. And I think it may be again a union thing or a classification thing, because he says I class myself as a producer editor, and that way you have control of the final cut, whereas presenters don't. And he said presenters are just seen as a joke, basically. So that's why he doesn't go for the whole being a celebrity presenter in front of the camera thing. What you want to be is a producer. You be a producer, so you have control, and he just gets a budget. And I think he said he made something like, can't get you out of my head, for something like 17 grand or 18 grand or something. And of course the BBC controls all the archives, so most of that is free anyway. And so You just have to be canny about how you class yourself. I wouldn't want to be in front of the camera. I just want to be controlling the edit or the direction or whatever. You know, what else? What else
doing
works?
audio or voiceover, but I think I'd be fancy being in front of the camera all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Some of his docos, he said, cost about 30K, whatever. I think Shifty cost about 30K or something like that, apparently. But yeah, again, I've always thought this as well. Actually, I don't want to be someone like. Meads is a stylist in his own way, so him presenting it is kind of part of the package, but he must have some control as well. But I think the whole thing of celebrities on screen is just kind of boring and dull. It lends weight to that thing we've talked about the kind of pornographic nature of social media, of people wanting to look at you, delve into you, find out stuff about you, and then that kind of undermines the work in a way. And I do like the idea of the anonymous producer. You make your works of culture and you thrust them on the world, and they live or die in their own excellence.
Indeed, Simon. Indeed. One day it'll be different. One day we'll be calling the shots at these types of places.
We should raise 20K for Hat and Simon to make a doc, says Records and Pulse.
Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
We approve this message. Yeah.
Yes, we do, and you should do it quickly as well, so that we can get on with it.
You'll never hear of us again. Yes.
We'll be off to Haiti. No, not Haiti. Somewhere sunny. Yeah.
Orange Milligan's Orange.
Oh, bit of a naughty. It is a Milligan reference that he was doing there. That's quite on the nose for the Beeb.
I guess because it was already out, there was no libel issue if he pled guilty to
Yeah,
it.
you can't libel the dead. It's just sort of a bit cruel, I suppose.
And then I woke up. It had all been just a dream.
The journey in time is one of the four cardinal devices of fantastical narrative. The others are the double, the contamination of primary reality by secondary reality, the work within the work.
A little bit like Porphyrion.
I was going to say that little folly on the top looked like Porphyrion.
Yeah, maybe.
But the lake doesn't seem quite right. It's not. Yeah.
Patrick McGowan's going to go running by.
Yeah.
Any minute.
The first surrealist was the first of our ancestors to make a representation of not what was outside him, the daily grind of hunter-gathering and making fire from flint, but of what was inside his head, of what had no existence before he made it exist. That first artist, who did not, of course, realize that he was an artist, possessed an innocent capacity for wonder that his avatars have striven ever since to recapture. How do we achieve that state? And why do we wish to? Neuropsychopathologist Vigo Bream.
Som der honorabilitad, som der arbeidstid, som der magtfabrikaridad.
He used to be all right. I like that one when he did the disgusting sex act with the llama and the motorboat.
What else we got?
Rick Stein's Roadkill. This week, Rick prepares squashed otter and shows us how to scrape a fox off a hard shoulder and braise it so it tastes sweet as dog.
Give us that.
The Aberdeen typhoid outbreak of April 1964 was caused by contaminated corned beef. Anything becomes fantastical if you look at it long enough.
All cooking, innit? When it isn't makeovers.
That's art, that one.
He's heterosexual, you know. You missed that one the other week when he dropped his hot lunch on those people's carpet and just left it steaming there.
Pause.
In just a moment.
Just gonna say, do you think it's part of the problem of the mode of surrealism that he has to do a documentary or this kind of approach to surrealism by putting in the skeptical English voice as the viewer, like he's doing with those
I think that's just his style, to be honest. I don't think that's just what he likes to do. He likes to kind of imagine that there's a kind of unintellectual Englishman there going, "Oh, I don't get what all this is about," you know. I just don't understand all this Tracy Emin art, you know. Sketch. It's just that voice. Probably reveals more about his insecurity than anything else, you know. People who refuse to appreciate. But there you are. I don't know really.
In a special for BBC Two's Chocolate Night, Lloyd Grossman goes through the anal keyhole to ask, "Whose is this rectum?"
That's like the thing is though, in the years following this, Channel 4 would become known for basically doing programs like that, wouldn't they? You know, penis.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine Lloyd Grossman going through the anal keyhole?
Lead coming through on the nose. Ooh, big saturated branch chain hydrocarbons saying hello to daintier effete propylenes, chunky moleculed butylenes pushing through in a devastatingly complex finish. It says 70s elf petrol.
Talked about petrol drinking earlier. There you go. More Satsuma Yokota.
Oh, there's that quiz with what's his face on 24. Give us that.
Welcome back, mein Folk, to Valhalla or Basta.
Here is the next question, Herr Reich Quizmeister.
Danke schön, Lotte. Oh, here is the hard one. On your tingerlings now.
Do you think there's a point where Nazis became verboten on telly for comedy?
No, I don't think so. Because you can always just there's something because there's an inherent comedy to the aesthetic in a way.
Yeah.
So you just put someone in the uniform and have it introduce Nazis, and it becomes funny, especially if it's something that's sort of petty, as like a quiz show, you know. The Nazi quiz show. It's you could still do this now.
It's funny. You know, it's funny. It's weird because I just on my YouTube feed the other day, it was feeding me clips of things like "Allo Allo," which I never really watched. But
I don't know a bit about that.
It was odd though watching this kind of sitcom with funny Nazis.
Yeah,
very out of time.
Maybe it just wore off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because given that the left always love to say, "Oh, you know, you defeat fascism by laughing."
Well, that's it. Yeah.
But they don't seem to really ever live by that, do they? So
it's all become so humorless.
Christopher Biggins here, of course.
Yeah.
What was he famous? He was in Rocky Horror. Well, what else was he famous for? Because he's quite well known.
Biggins in Rocky Horror, was he?
Yeah, he was one of the Transylvanians.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I remember him as the Emperor Nero from I, Claudius.
Was that him?
As a young fella. Yeah. And endless kinds of light entertainment shows since. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Which one of these put the T in Britain? Attend to your screens, mein Lieblings.
Were it Mrs. Thatcher?
No! TB. Who put the T in Britain?
Were it them chimps on the telly?
Sniff the whiff.
Oh, violence!
I would actually quite like I'd like to see this be a real show. Maybe we
Yeah.
can make this. We could actually get Christopher Biggins back and we could produce this.
It was Typhoon who put the T in Britain. Jadakas 9! Let us think now about Scunt Hop. Scunt Hop.
I see what he did there.
A horse going to
Nicely
the
done.
Eastern Front.
Mm.
And who's going to Valhalla? The question is if Typhoon put the T in Britain, who put the
Thor in Scunthorpe. Who did put the Thor in Scunthorpe?
It wasn't the Thor I put in Scunthorpe.
Is that bloody
Cheeky Keith Allen.
cheeky Keith Allen?
Yeah.
I've never liked. I just can't. You know, I can't remember who it was. Someone once said
Yeah.
the trouble with Keith Allen is he looks like the sort of person
Mm.
who gets his cock out as a joke.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to really sort of that basically sums him up. He's got that sort of unfunny, kind of egotistical vibe to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean, but I think he was kind of right on from the beginning, really, because he was there with the young ones not the young ones, but the sort of comic strip when they were in Soho, you know, in '79 and all of that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
He was.
And then he did Vindaloo, didn't he? The song, big football
Yeah.
song.
He's always kind of come across as, you know, being the sort of slightly edgy, manic, aggressive part of that scene. I actually quite like him in many ways. I like him as a performer in some ways. Yeah, I thought he was good with the comic strip presents. There were some of the films he did that were good. The one in particular I quite liked, The Crying Game, where he played a footballer who has to come out as gay, and
right,
he's meant to be a Geordie footballer. It's kind of unbelievable for him.
Even
really.
though he's Welsh. Yeah,
it's quite a good story. Yeah, it's quite a good story. And you know, the in Fistful of Dollars, the guy who runs the hotel and headbutts Danny Peacock. So I kind of like his charisma in ways, but I think he is probably an arsehole.
Me and me mum and me dad and me gran, we're off to Waterloo. Me
Yeah.
and me mum and me dad and me gran with a bucket of Vindaloo. Yeah.
As I was going to say, Alphabet Cat got the other one I like. Yeah, Shallow Grave, as Hugo, the drug dealer who dies in his bed and leaves the big suitcase full of money.
Oh, totally.
And he did also do, in the early 2000s, a good TV concept, because we were talking about good TV concepts to bring back. And he did one called The Vicious Circle, which was a Victor Lewis Smith produced show, I think, that was just a bunch of people in a very, very dark room, all lounging on recliner chairs and drinking lots. You know, the camera can barely make anybody out. It's almost like it's filmed in like night vision without any actual night vision. But it's just people talking about the telly that's been on the preceding week. And it must have been the time when Jamie Oliver was on telly, because he used to reserve a lot of ire for Jamie Oliver. And it was various people. It was I'm trying to remember, it was him. I think Sherry Blair's sister, the one who became a Muslim, was on it as well. Yeah, various people. I think even Richard Bacon might have been on it at times, but it was a bunch of kind of celebrities, TV sort of characters who were slightly in the doldrums, and they would get together on this strange program and just really rip into telly that they didn't like. And it was quite good fun, actually, and they were enjoyable. And he was always kind of Keith Allen was always kind of good value on it. but it's lost in time. That I don't think there's any episodes of it out there anywhere. I remember just watching. It used to be a regular fixture because it was quite amusing. The idea of people just getting drunk, dark room, slagging off stuff, and you know who they are, but you can't really see them distinctly, which is kind of probably going to be regarded as a very odd format. But it was fun. It was funny. You sort of had cameras like looking down on the table where they're all sat at, and cameras that are moving around the outside, and grainy shots of them in the dark. But it was kind of strange. But Victor Lewis Smith was a kind of oddball comedy creator in that way.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do like Extreme on the Groucho Club, and the kind of right-on comedy world, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can like lots of their creative energy. I can like the creative energy, but just as people, I think they're probably not very nice.
No, that's it. They've always come off as terrible people,
Although there is a good, it may be out there. I think Keith did a documentary on Keith Floyd, the chef,
right,
as he was towards the end of his life, which was quite interesting. He did sort of these investigative documentaries, going and tracking people down, and I remember that one was very enjoyable.
I'll tell you something you might like, Simon. We could watch on here, and I know it wouldn't get us copyrighted as well. Have you ever seen the original Gordon Ramsay documentary called Boiling Point?
No.
1999. Very interesting piece to tell you, because it's the kind of the thing that he's pre-fame Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see him deliberately trying to kind of court the media to become a celebrity, while always claiming that I don't really want to be a celebrity, I just want to be a good chef, this kind of thing. And it's also just a really good look into the culture of the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
There's A.A. Gill appears, and the press are running around, and you've got back when the tabloids were still really important, and
yeah, you sort of one's almost, I mean, not saying it was necessarily always the highest quality programming, but one is slightly nostalgic for some of that sort of time when you had a kind of cast of characters who would pop up like grumpy old men on the BBC, where I mean, I think Will Self was on there, and what's his name, Arthur Smith, various people kind of just being, Rick Wakeman, I think, used to be on it. Just late middle-aged men being withering and dismissive of stuff, and it could be quite amusing at times. Like I was saying, it's not the highest quality entertainment, but it was sort of okay. But it was again that formula of documentaries where they're asked to come in and talk about something they probably don't remember or know nothing about, and then they're given a bit of a crib sheet by the producer, and then they just sit in front of the camera and go, "Oh yeah, reality TV. What was that all about?" That kind of stuff. The kind of ready hand-me-down opinions, but some of them could be quite funny.
I want to state unequivocally that I did not put the Thor in Scunthorpe. I was out picking up boys that day.
I would have loved to put the Thor in Scunthorpe.
Look, Squire, anyone, but anyone, who suggests it was me who put the Thor in Scunthorpe gets what's owed to them.
I'm the Thor in Scunthorpe.
I can hear Woods in the chat, even though people aren't putting them there.
Yeah, I was going to say Janet Street Porter, wasn't it?
Janet Street Porter. Kathy Lett was at the end. I don't know who the dark-haired girl was in the middle.
Kathy Lett is.
She's married to Jeffrey Robertson, the QC, or KC now, I assume, or retired KC. She's Australian, kind of. She was kind of always, kind of like sort of cheeky chicklet kind of stuff. She sort of had a line in being a bit of a kind of middle-aged, funny, slightly not scandalous. What's the word? But slightly naughty girl boss kind of stuff.
Okay.
Not unsufferable girl boss. She's kind of I'm the sort of straight talking funny Australian woman who is kind of playing sort of with, kind of being sexy smart, if you know what I mean. With her.
She kind of fancied by dads type woman.
Yeah. I'd
probably
say she was. That sort of characterization of her on screen there is, dealing with the naughty boys, I guess, probably is the sort of thing people like. But she'd come on and to shows and stuff and tell anecdotes that were kind of slightly scandalous or erotic or slightly naughty and lewd. It's the sort of part of the Australian entertainment mentality that thinks the British are sort of uptight and need to be kind of shaken out of their stiff collars. Yeah, a bit like Ruby Wax in a way. Yeah. Oh, you're so shocking.
Right. Okay. Bloody celebs.
Hey, what do you want from me? Hey, always going on. That's you all the f***ing time. And what are you staring at? You. Yeah. Hey, what you f***ing want? You look at you just standing there. You f***ing useless, aren't you? Hey, aren't you? You're just bloody useless. Well, you staring at as well. No, you're even more useless than they are, aren't you? What good are you? All you ever do is eat grass.
Oh, I never liked him. The Mad Hater.
Hatter? Mad Hatter?
Oh, don't be so silly. The illustrator drew a hatter, so it had to stay a hatter.
I knew him well too.
We all find our route to immortality, even if it is in liquid form.
Was it
David
you
Lynch
who
was
put
British,
the extra T in hater?
Yeah, he's Scottish, wasn't he? He's born in Scotland.
Really? I didn't know that.
I think David Lynch was he born
did
in...
you put the T in
Sorry,
Britain?
David Lynch. You say David Byrne, did you say? Or David Lynch?
Oh.
No, David Lynch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I thought you think... I don't know how I got David Lynch in my mind. Sorry, David Byrne.
No, I say because it's sort of it's like a weird Lynchian film, but just British, It's sort of obnoxious.
Yeah. That's right. I was thinking about David Byrne because he was playing at the weekend in Suffolk. That's why.
Same as it ever was.
Yeah.
So many teas. I had to get rid of them wherever I could.
The pool of tears. The pool of tears. It wasn't what Mr. Dodgson actually wrote.
It's all because I kept forgetting to wash my tears out. Cotton buds haven't been invented yet, dear.
I never leave a door open to this day. I don't want to get a chill because of the drafts. See what I mean? I'll get a chill now. Goodbye.
It's a bit Northfield.
I was going to say that just feels like a cheap gag, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Come on, Mies. What are you doing? He's not making terribly many points about surrealism, is he? He's not giving us a great deal to chew on intellectually.
Yeah. It's a sort of ambience of Mead's processed surrealism that feels like it's got some sort of commentary on something more pertinent, maybe to the time, maybe to the politics of the time or the cultural temperature of the time, but I'm not sure what it is.
I think he just really wanted us to know that he'd lost weight.
Well, there's that as well. Yeah, it does feel like a kind of, sort of dietary ostentation that he's dressed up as a silly doco, but... Yeah, anyway. Can we imagine the BBC making this kind of thing nowadays? Well, we can't.
No.
But I don't know. Would we want to? I think it feels like it is a bit. I mean, maybe that's him making. Again, the form is making the point. It's a bit aimless. It's a bit random. It's about. I mean, he sort of went into it at the beginning of the document. It's about subverting the technical formalisms of art and communication, filmmaking. In this way, you change the perspectives, you reorientate the viewer inside different encapsulations or frames that begin to make you destabilize and question the forms of information that you're being given. I mean, in a sense, that's how I can relate what he was doing at the, in the beginning of the documentary, with the camera kind of detaching from the standard piece to camera position and revolving around his head and going into his ear. I can see, but it maybe just feels like maybe it's one joke stretched out over too long.
That's got to be Blue Velvet, though, right? The thing with the ear.
Yeah.
Surely it feels too obvious otherwise, right? It's got to be Blue Velvet.
Yeah. So I mean, you had the Milligan reference earlier on, so maybe he's just doing it all slightly underground here.
Perhaps.
Or under the radar.
Is the waiting room.
It's just...
Is that where the weight went? Is that where the past is?
I find it slightly uncanny how the taste in music I share with Mr. Meads, almost every these are all songs I have in my personal playlist, not terribly well known stuff, but it's
no, and there's some quite tasteful stuff in there, actually.
Maybe I'm just Zoomer Jonathan Meads,
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a job in a restaurant and then lose some weight and then go on the telly. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he does have some nice stuff going on. There was a Astor Piazzolla piece that was playing over the credits of one of them that I downloaded after listening and thought that's very nice. There is some good music advising going on in Meads.
If you miss this one, you'll never get another one. Last night I met my sweet Dorothy. She said tomorrow I do it, speak my new name. And if you like, alright. Oh, you can take me outside. Think about it, and get back in time for the last train.
Pause. Yeah, I think this is Dungeness. You remember we were talking about Derek Jarman's cottage at Dungeness the other day?
Oh yeah.
I think that's Dungeness because they, as I said, they have this little miniature railway. If you're standing here, I think the power station, the nuclear power station, is kind of behind our point of view that we're looking from the point of view of the camera. But I recognise that landscape. I believe that is Dungeness. Very flat landscape, very strange, but kind of cool, worth a visit. In its way. Rex and Pulse in the chat, talking of surrealism, did I dream that you're planning to do a stream on Blue Jam Jam? Yeah, I've been talking about that with Proper Horror Show. Proper Horror Show has been a bit busy recently, and well, so have we. But that is planned. Yes, that is planned. We have a sort of sequence of streams that we're trying to sort of pull together thematically, and that might be one of them. Well, it will be one of them because I've kind of pushed for it. So yeah.
Yeah, if you put a word in for me, Simon, with the Proper Horror Show.
Oh yes, absolutely.
A great admirer of the Proper Horror Show channel. So
yeah, I see. Oh yes, I can see Blue Jam quotes appearing in the chat now. Yes, oozing pulls while welcome in Blue Jam. Yep, I know it. Very well. Yeah, I will. Is there any particular films or artifacts you would want to discuss in horror terms?
To be honest, I think most of them have actually been done.
Well, we can do our own then.
Yeah, I suppose so. All the ones I was going to suggest I think I've already had streams done on them. So,
I mean, there is stuff. I mean, I'd love to do the M.R. James Whistle and I'll Come to You, the Jonathan Miller one, as well as we've talked about doing the Alice in Wonderland. But now I am afeared of the awful BBC ruining our lovely streams.
Oh dear, terrible, isn't it?
Yes, it is terrible.
Yeah. We could maybe the Lighthouse. Has she done one on the Lighthouse?
I do not know what is the Lighthouse.
No, I don't know if it's strictly horror, but it's a recent one. It's Robert Eggers. It's really good, actually.
Right. Right. Okay.
Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in this kind of slightly Lovecraftian thing. Yeah, Mr. Friggle, the Begotten is the film I'm thinking of. Yeah, but it's not. It's quite recent. It's early 2000s, I think. It just looks like it's early.
Reckies and Pulse, I recently found out it wasn't Morris who wrote the monologues. No, it was Robert Katz, who he used to work with. And he used to do them independently on another show that Morris hosted, possibly when he was in his Greater London radio days, I think. But they work much better with Morris doing them. And they didn't transition to the TV show Jam, which is a shame, because actually they're some of the best parts. I don't know if you know Blue Jam Hat.
I don't think so.
Late 90s, late night Radio 1, very unusual kind of venue for very dark comedy. It was kind of a comedy ambient music mix that Chris Morris did. And he would do these monologues, which were really good. They were from the point of view of a man who has had some sort of form of nervous breakdown, and he's now increasingly mentally detached. And he's drifting around the world of London media and art and theatre in the late 90s, and variously being exploited by people and abused in creative and interesting ways. And they're just short monologues that tell of events from his point of view as he kind of tumbles into all sorts of disastrous situations. And they're just very darkly funny. And I can actually relate to lots of the situations in them, because there was they capture the atmosphere of the time very much. In terms of how people were turning towards working in entertainment, becoming quite kind of heartless.
Well, I'll give that a look. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Blue Jam.
Okay. Blue Jam, yeah.
Blue Jam.
This country relegates Carroll to the status of children's writer out of fear of what he might release, out of fear of what he tapped into. He is an affront to the canons of common sense. To describe him as childish, silly, nonsensical is a way of trying to render him harmless. He's a high master of irreason, and it's an irreason of his own devising. It's not religion, which is the reason that is permitted and controlled, the way that tobacco and alcohol are the drugs that are permitted and controlled. The irony is that the more irrational a church is, the more potent and literal its myths, the more it is likely to excite an appetite for extracurricular reason. It's no coincidence that Carroll, a cleric, wrote at a time when the stronghold of the English church over this country's imagination and psyche was at its height.
Repeat after me. The lop here is my shelter. I said repeat after me. The lop here is my shelter.
The lop ears is my shelter?
I shall not want. Take it away!
He maketh me to lie down on green pasture.
Oh, God.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, okay.
He leadeth me beside the still watchmakers. He restoreth my soubrette. He leadeth me in the patches of riffraff for his naiad sailors. Yea, though I walk through the valley... I alter so chilling a phrase. The psalmist was a surrealist. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Won't I? Won't I fear no evil? The potency of that phrase obliterates and contradicts all hope. Pious optimism has no chance against it. When I was a child, I believed that this place really was the Valley of the Shadow of Death. I believed I had found the exact location. I believed that from the moment a cloud occluded the bright summer sun. And when I learnt that in France, such a valley with no watercourse is called une vallée morte, a dead valley, it was merely confirmation that I had got it right. My infantile terror was prompted by this dead valley alone. Now, this kindred landscape 3 miles away was different. It was wholly benign. Had a cloud switched off the sun here, it would have been no more than meteorological happenstance. When I lay in bed at night as a child, this is where the sheep that I counted to put me to sleep jumped over a gate. I don't know why they should have lived here.
Oh. Hello?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sound seems to have cut out for me.
I wondered if that was actually stylistic for some.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it?
I just wondered if some of this, him relishing the kind of the imagery of nuns, and that you know, I wonder if this coincides with, you know, sort of turn of the century, the way that, you know, you remember the sort of Y2K thing, the millennium bug and all that kind of stuff. And there was a sort of millenarian thing in the air that people were, you know, feeling a change of, oh, sorry, you're born after this. I'm forgotten. Sorry. I just, I keep forgetting. I said to Panama recently, I said, he's kind of a character who would have been there in the 80s, really. I keep forgetting.
I'm out of time. I'm
out of time.
I was born in sort of 1892, but actually, you know.
Yeah. Well, there was a kind of, there was a kind of, there was a kind of sort of neo-millenarianism going on. You know, what's going to happen, and are all computers going to crash at the turn of the century? Blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And there's always a little bit of an anticipation of, you know, is there going to be a new world order of some kind? There's always going to be a sort of mystical anxiety that takes place. And I'm just wondering if this was the time, early 2000s, of the emergence of the kind of, you know, the Reddit atheist bros, not Reddit per se, but, you know, the kind of atheist, neo-atheism. Because I felt some of that reiteration of the imagery of the nuns and, you know, the crown of thorns, the cross and the hammer, the idea of a certain amount of surrealism coming, or it feels like it's coming out of a, you know, a rejection of a staid religious world in some way. I wonder if it coincides with the sort of, you know, our kind of Peter Hitchens reactionary sensibility, you know, the rage against God, that kind of stuff that needs is revisiting this in that sort of spirit of, you know, new century, new world. Okay, that means new future. That means rejecting the old myths, as he's talking about here. And it's always funny, isn't it? Because isn't it strange, the thing of him as a child thinking he'd actually found the Valley of Death. You kind of always get this with a kind of let's not call Meads progressive, but let's call him part of the bien-pensant class on telly. You always get the feeling when they often have these stories from childhood, and they tell them in this way that can be sort of, it can be constitutive for a script on a TV program, a little anecdote that they do. But part of me also thinks, wow, how incredibly narcissistic to see yourself with this kind of level of important insight that you had found the biblical Valley of Death. I mean, people might imagine that something has the aura of a place that might be mentioned, in its scripture, but the idea that no, you've actually found the place,
I suppose just he's that type of person, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
He would think that. He would think that without a doubt.
Yeah.
Just would.
Yeah. It does always seem that when these guys pop up, there is this element of wow, kind of. I don't know. I just can't conceive of thinking like that myself. It just seems strange. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. It's what makes these people.
Maybe this is the BBC extracting all sound to punish us.
Maybe they've sucked it out like a vampire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not adjust your set. Yeah.
So Dali venerating the passing train in some way. I don't know what that means.
We don't elect the places that touch us. Sense of place is not analogous to such primary senses as smell and touch. The topographical epiphanies we suffer as children are signs of incipient sentient capacities, for wonder, for imagination, for investing the exterior world with properties of our own devising. Particular places speak to us. They act as a trigger for this amalgam of qualities which adds up to a nascent aesthetic sense. We make our own version of these places. We possess them. They infect us and we infect them. They're catalysts of a signal awakening. So it's hardly surprising that we should eternally return to them in the hope of retrieving those sensations of childhood.
And we're grateful when serendipity grants us those sensations in adulthood, because they transport us back to childhood, to that time of our life when we are most susceptible to mystery.
That time of our life, a month then is a day now, those 60 seconds are still a minute, a faster minute. That protracted time when we slough off innocence. All that innocence means is knowing fuck all. And the idea that children know fuck all is a fiction of politicians, churchmen, Rotarians, Mr. Tony Tartuffe, and so on. There's a vast gulf between surrealism and demagoguery. The former's impetus is to abandon all control, to let it roll, let it jelly roll.
Oi, taxi for the chappie looking for the lost weight? Is that you?
Yes.
Get in then.
Ludicrous Birmingham
Pause. This frame, this is a very Victor Lewis Smith frame, actually. Don't know if it's coincidental, but he would do on TV off all these kind of sketches with a POV camera back seat looking forward out of the front window of a cab, and
Right.
on the right hand side would be a London cabbie giving a sort of monologue, and he'd be driving through all sorts of crazy locations. So you would see forward projection of him, driving through the human digestive system, or driving through bits of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, mate, I had that so-and-so in the back of my cab the other day, and it's all these kind of funny monologues. And
I recognise you. You're a famous poet, T.S. Eliot, ain't you? Oh, I know you. No, I get all sorts in my cab, The other day, I had Bertrand Russell in here, Bertrand Russell. I said, well then, Lord Russell. I said, what's it all about then? And, he couldn't tell me.
I almost want to come in with a Derek and Clive kind of line to cap that off, but I won't say the word. What a, yeah. Someone in the chat says, Mr. D would have been a useful wingman for this particular one. Yeah, he would have been, actually.
Well, he would have been, but it was impromptu. We didn't plan it. The BBC sabotaged our Haiti stream and reduced us to Meads. So
yeah.
You know.
It would be, and it's difficult with the time difference, unfortunately. But you know,
yeah.
So
So
it would be good.
be.
Would we be interested in watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? I have to say no. I did watch it when it came out, but I just don't think there's enough in it.
I think there's loads in it. I got a lot
Do you
to
reckon?
say about that film. And that
Do you
novel.
reckon?
We're not going to get away with it on here. It was we can't watch it on here.
I'm intrigued now. You see, you've completely thrown my lazy and based on a single view of the film, and I maybe think, maybe there is something in it. Panama said there is, so I'll maybe go and look at it again. But I wasn't terribly excited about it at the time, other than the sequence that takes place in the casino where they take LSD and the carpet is moving, and that was very much like when I took LSD. That was very realistic.
Well, partly because one of the reasons is all the trips are very accurate, but it's really about consumerism and decadence and decline. That's what you got to remember. Hunter S. Thompson was this kind of reactionary Southern gentleman, sort of with this kind of cool, sort of slightly rock and roll veneer to him. And that book is basically a blast of anger against what he perceived to be the kind of gorged, bloated corpse of America in the year 1971. The whole reason that they take huge amounts of extremely dangerous drugs is because they're trying to paint Las Vegas in the way that they see it. They're trying to turn all the grotesquerie up to it's the Swiftian tradition, right? That you savage something by showing it in its most extreme form. Right. So you that's what that film and the book it's based on is basically, and it's also just kind of funny. Nice Alexander. I actually have taken LSD before, but that's stories for another time.
Putting it in that way, though, that frame that you're describing the film, I mean, that does make it intriguing to me, and actually, it makes me suspect that the short passages of Hunter S. Thompson I've read are more interesting than any kind of filmic representation for me. I feel that he does strike me as one of the things that's unfilmable, not because you don't have the imagination to try, but because they are just better sort of
you lose
on the page.
You lose the Baroque beauty of his prose in film, and that you can do a good adaptation, but if really you lose his incredible sense of prose that he has. So I mean it's not a perfect film. It's a flawed film. It's a flawed film. It's certainly got its problems. And I think basically what Gilliam did is he said, right, well, I can't really adapt this into a conventional film without losing something of the essence. So I'm going to do a very, very faithful adaptation of the book, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. But at least we stuck to the text. So you do have to kind of know what you're going in for with it. But there is a lot to be said for it. I think it's a really good little reactionary testament on the America of that time and what would come after. I think Johnny Depp's performance works. I think the slight problem with it is that he is doing a kind of pastiche, in that he was personal friends with Hunter S. Thompson. He was just kind of doing an impression. I think he could have brought more to it in terms of his actual performance. He could have added a depth to it that wasn't really there. Benicio del Toro, very, very good as the kind of savage Dr. Gonzo. Very, very good performance, because he is theoretically based on a real person, the lawyer Oscar Zeta Acosta, who Thompson went to Las Vegas with that particular weekend. But his actual character is just clearly a fiction fantasy. You know, he's this totally off the wall, sort of very overweight Mexican lawyer who kind of goes around with him and gives him awful advice and takes the bulk of the really nasty drugs. It's a film that has always been quite close to me, because I got into reading Fear and Loathing very young. I was about 11, and I'm always reading avidly, and I never really has any distinction between quote unquote adult literature and quote unquote young literature. So I was just reading whatever was there, and I came across an old copy of Fear and Loathing and was hooked. And I didn't understand anything about the counterculture or consumerism or what it was, but it was just such an explosive, raw, brutal text with so many things I've never encountered before. That I've always been a sort of lifelong Hunter S. Thompson fan. And I really think a lot of the time his work has never really been given the attention it deserves, in that normally he gets pigeonholed as this kind of madcap kind of figure. And yeah, he's I think there's a lot more to be said about him, really. I'd like to look at his work in depth.
It feels like it needs kind of regrounding in a way, because you've actually intrigued me now to go back and reconsider, well, certainly the book anyway, rather than looking at the film again. But this is going to be, maybe this is a slightly heretical opinion, but Johnny Depp I'm never completely convinced of. I always feel there's an over anticipation of, it's a new film with Johnny Depp in it. It's a Johnny Depp performance. I mean, they're currently pushing this film of him doing Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks really cheap, to be honest. It looks like some sort of direct-to-video thing. I was quite confused.
Yeah, and it looks like he's not even phoning it in. He's faxing it in.
He's not even trying.
There's too much hype around him doing stuff.
It is, and it's even more frustrating because he can be great. He can do Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Or something of that type. But he's not been good for a number of years. I completely agree. There are problems. There are problems with the Johnny Depp performance in that.
Yeah.
I
think it's just his PR. He just needs to tell him to tone it down and just like don't even put your name on the trailer. Just be a character.
Have him show up as a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this thing of, again, it's a little bit like the Daniel Day-Lewis thing. Again, the problem with it is that they may be great performers, but when the PR does a lot of this reputation preceding the actor stuff, it just kills it. It just doesn't give the actor a chance to, as I say, live or die on his own terms. And Johnny Depp sort of suffers a lot from that because he does get kind of recycled as, a crazy guy, off the wall guy, Johnny Depp. He's doing a new thing, and it's like, oh well, what's he doing this time? It's another version of Keith Richards. Oh right, okay. I don't need to know. Let him do something discreet. Let him play a character role in a 70s British TV drama or something like that, where he's uncredited.
It is a shame, but anyway. Back to Keith.
It was much more than a marriage. That's what made it so painful. But musically, we'd grown apart. The way people do. I was into totally progressive sounds. But for Mutilator and Slasher, it were novelty numbers or nothing. How much is that doggy in the window and that malarkey? Yeah, then there was what I'd call irreconcilable differences. The colour of our coats, the direction we should go in. I wanted to go in the Kidderminster direction, but they wanted to go in the Warsaw direction. I mean, end of story. But have you ever heard of anybody in Warsaw who bought an hot dog from a couple of lilac poodles in a van called Moist Groin playing nothing but novelty records? No, mister.
Hang on. Are you sure this is where the weight is?
No. I just need a leak.
There's only a letter's difference between artistic and autistic.
Oh.
Now, that's got to be clipped. Come on.
Yeah. That's a channel motto, isn't it?
Yeah.
We need to put that back in. You had that credit sequence thing. They just recut
we
that.
can edit that in. Yeah.
That's a good one. I can sympathize, Requisite Impulse. It's quite easy to forget what this documentary is about. I mean, it's not a documentary as in a purely factualist approach. It's a mood ambience based approach.
Doing a thing,
It's just
It's
I'm just waiting for the Marco Pierre White sequence that's coming up, so that's all I'm really hanging for.
Cosmic and comic.
We could do this. We could play with lenses and shoot B-roll.
Oh, we could do this in an afternoon, Simon. you and me would be like Hitchcock. Cut, done. Efficient.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any sort of comedy cameos from past it actors doing
no
Black Country accents and all this kind of malarkey, this kind of whimsy, which I do not like.
No. I imagine we'd be kind of stood there with a sort of semi-Laurel and Hardy kind of thing going on, where we just kind of talk or rotundly to each other about this or that topic.
Yeah,
I think it'd be very good.
I think we'd find an interesting topic. We wouldn't just sort of do these kind of crowbarring in regional accents for the sake of comedy. We'd do something interesting. We'd do, I don't know, a musical about Chernobyl or something. That's what we do.
You say that, but most of what people come here for is us doing comedy regional accents, Simon. I mean, let's not be hypocritical.
Not so much regional, sort of topical
accents. Simon accent prompt. Northern Irish donut salesman.
Please, mercy.
In the late 90s.
I can't go there. I can't. The problem with Northern Irish is high risk of offence and death vendettas.
When Bowden's doing the Punch and Judy talk, and he says, "For some reason, I always give the crocodile an Irish accent, a Northern Irish Ulster accent. Never understood why, but I want those sausages. I want them parkies. You give me no."
I find so the question of Ulster can invoke a certain kind of humorlessness and dangerous atmosphere that I prefer to avoid.
Everyone in chat, press 1 for the Union, press 2 for the Republic. Let's see where everyone stands on this question.
Yeah.
We say never
surrender.
Never. Antichrist. Yeah.
Yeah. Free for chaos. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, mate. No. In private.
There's only a letter's difference between micturition and alliumporum. No, that's not right, is it?
That's definitely.
You hungry, boy? Snack.
If you ever driven through northern France, that field is,
that's
where that was filmed, certainly.
Oh, I just love to get some egg on my soldier. Where's the nearest army camp?
The professionals. One day Kosovo, next day ovine sacrifice.
My son Warren, he perishes for us all.
The ability to soft-boil an egg is not regarded as a virtue in Spain. The more pervious a culture is to surrealism, the less preoccupied it is with the most unimaginative thing you can do with an egg. It's a post-Protestant talent to stand around for 4 minutes watching water precipitate gastronomic banality. France, where reason struggles with surrealism, boils an egg for 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Marco dressed in his Godfather outfit here.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. Basically, what we're doing is poaching.
Marco Fanucci.
So now we just wait for them to cook.
With a Panama hat?
Yeah.
come on, get on with it. This program's going to be over in a minute. That is not, if you'll pardon my saying so, an even line.
So what we're trying to achieve, soft white, soft yolk.
Up, there you are. No, down. Yeah, that's about it.
Garlic, rosemary, and salt.
Down a tiny bit more, And the donkey is not quite that thick in that part. Think art, not craft. This is not just another chalk work.
It's another Astor Piazzolla piece, I recognise there.
Yeah, you can tell it's him.
Yeah. Feels like that's the wrong pan and setup to be frying an egg with.
I don't know, it's perfectly shaped.
Yeah, it's just not cooking properly.
No.
If you two had bothered to look at the map the way I told you to, you'd have seen that the hashes are close, the contour lines are close. Means that the hill is steep. You don't seem to have taken that into account. You're going to end up spending the rest of your lives working on white horses. You had a chance here. I gave you a chance. It's a white donkey.
You come and do it then.
Season after cooking.
That doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
2 eggs. Thank you, John.
This is actually what Simon and I look like when we're,
That's it.
together.
Yeah.
So we sort of do things like cook eggs and, make late night sandwiches.
Oh, there's that piece again, yeah. It's an archbishop bumming a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There you go. Not a terrible amount actually said about surrealism, but
yeah,
nevertheless. Thank you, Mr. Meads, once again.
Yes. Well, we hope that rescued a somewhat diverted stream, which we had to abandon for reasons of copyright assault, and we substitute. Oh, that's young Alice was played by Coral Meads. I wonder if that's his daughter.
Oh, that would make sense.
Interesting.
Tell you what, Simon, since we've still got time, do you want to do a quick bit of Vivian Stanshall?
We do a quick bit of Vivian Stanshall, but not for too much longer. How much time do we need to do that?
I don't know. Actually, well, I mean, if you got to head off, we can save it. But because I thought we'd go for quite a bit longer than this, but
I'd say save it. I mean, I think that Vivian Stanshall deserves dwelling on properly.
Yeah, he does.
I wouldn't want to rush.
No.
Well, what have we learned? I don't know. I don't know what we've learned. As I say, I feel some of this later Meads is less pithy and intriguing. It may be that if we return to Meads, maybe we have to go slightly earlier in the oeuvre in some way. I feel like wide Meads is best Meads. That's just my hunch at the moment.
Yeah, fortunately.
Or the subject matter. The brutalism one worked very well, but maybe some of the others. Don't know.
It got good views as well. The brutalism one.
Yeah, and we've enjoyed that. You've enjoyed it as well, our lovely loyal viewers. So here we are. Maybe we return at some point to try and deal with the WQ, the Whicker question, as to whether there's any way.
I'm just annoyed at this. That for some reason that a thing that's already on YouTube is getting taken down.
Yeah.
So terribly annoying.
Yeah, I mean, you think if there's going to be some sort of fair dealing usage, that you basically you do your stream, they then judge whether the proportion of usage is fair based on commentary, review purposes, and all that stuff, and then they whack you, not like middle of the stream,
Yeah, it is annoying.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it was? I'm so frustrated over this because I was really wanted to review that program. It's very good.
Or maybe we do have to reconvene on a kind of Twitter special, like a Twitter special series where we think there's high risk of strikeage.
Wicker's World. Yeah,
but then people say, "Oh, I don't want to have to go on Twitter." Can I? I think you can view things on Twitter without being on Twitter.
Look, it's really not like I'm sure everybody in this chat's got Twitter, and if you don't, just get it to watch us. You don't have to follow it or do anything on it. We really want your views, and
it's not hard.
If we have to move, then we have to move. I'm afraid.
Yeah, but it could be. But I think if we have to use the power and heft of Elon Musk and his defiance of corporate Euro institutional digital rights management, then so be it. That's all I can say. Yeah, we did our best.
Indeed. We did our best, and we will continue to do so for the chat. So, Simon, in the most theatrical way possible,
yes,
please once again shill the channel. Get them to give us money, Simon. Get them to give us money for the things we do.
I enjoin each and every one of you and all of your families and your extended families and relations and friends to go at once to ko-fi.com/Panama Hat. That's ko-fi.com/ all one word Panama Hat.
Link in the description.
Avail yourself of the luxurious facility of being able to just painlessly and effortlessly donate money to us in order to achieve more with these streams forthwith. And you will be among the elect. You will be among the chosen few who will knowingly enjoy our material, having sought to improve it directly by your own hand, by your own plunging your generous wealth into this project, so we may go on and climb to ever greater heights of artistic and cultural achievement. And in fact, I am seriously thinking about this in terms of Panama and I doing our own psychogeographic derive in London, recording it and or live streaming it. But I've got the facility. I was looking up today about facilities to do that. I mean, I've got the stuff that we need to get on and do it. We just go down and as our great friend Will said at the beginning, we drink some wine and then we go on a drift through London and freely associate ourselves with the emotions inspired by the landscape. And we take you, dear listeners, on that journey in order to savor something of what we detect in our great and mighty capital, corrupted and destroyed though it may be at the moment. We shall renew Babylon.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Gentlemen in the chat, you know where to donate. You know how to support. It is vital to keep this channel going.
And you can also become a channel member by going to the homepage on YouTube, selecting one of the many fine tiers on offer, so that you do not cry any tears of despair any longer, and you become one with us.
Indeed. And we shall return on Thursday, where we shall do yet another Pinter review. It will be the Gielgud Rafe Richardson No Man's Land, another Pinter masterpiece.
Yeah.
So please support us through the prep we have to do for that, and give generously. And
I think we are reasonably confident that won't get struck, but who knows?
If it does, Simon, I'm going to go through the roof because.
Yeah.
I mean, come on! I don't know. It's impossible. It's impossible.
It could be a journey into endless night, or it could be into the sunlit uplands. Who knows?
Well,
that's the gamble you take with us.
Here's what we'll do: if it goes down, Simon and I will act the play live for you. We'll actually just read the script live. We'll act it.
Bloody hell.
So prepare your best chops, Simon.
Yeah. Don't make us go there. We will turn up the acting intensity. You won't like it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we'll see you all on Thursday. And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him as well.
There you go. Goodbye all.
Bonne chance.